Lawrence Ross, renowned human diplomat, stands frozen as the immortal alien beauty demands he kneel before her. His heart pounds as he realizes this moment will determine humanity's fate among the stars. The vast crystalline chamber on the Sealy homeworld stretches around him, its faceted walls refracting light in dazzling patterns. Alien dignitaries from a dozen species fill the room, their varied forms and colors creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. At the far end, seated on an ornate throne of polished obsidian, is Belle, the Sealy female whose beauty transcends species. Her iridescent scales shimmer as she rises, each movement fluid and captivating. Silver eyes lock onto Lawrence, piercing through him with an intensity that makes his breath catch. Belle's arm extends, finger pointing directly at the human diplomat. "Kneel!" Her voice rings out, clear and commanding. The single word echoes through the chamber, silencing all other sounds. Gasps and murmurs erupt from the assembled aliens. Tentacles writhe, antennae quiver, and bioluminescent patches flare in agitation. The breach of diplomatic protocol sends shockwaves through the gathered representatives. Lawrence's mind races. He stands tall, caught between confusion and defiance. Years of training scream at him not to show weakness, yet the raw power emanating from Belle gives him pause. The fate of human-Sealy relations hangs in the balance. "I said kneel." Belle's voice cuts through the rising tension, sharper and more forceful than before. She takes a step forward, descending from her elevated position. Her body language exudes both threat and allure, a predator toying with its prey. Lawrence weighs his options, acutely aware of the consequences. To kneel could brand humanity as subservient, undermining their position in galactic affairs. To refuse risks offending the Sealy, potentially destroying any chance at peaceful relations. His choice here could elevate humanity to new heights or condemn Earth to isolation, or worse. Belle's lips part, revealing teeth too sharp for comfort. "We are the Sealy," she announces, her gaze sweeping the room before settling back on Lawrence. "We have watched your kind for millennia, observed your rapid climb from primitive tribes to fledgling spacefarers." Her words send a chill down Lawrence's spine. The implications of an ancient, immortal race monitoring Earth's progress are staggering. He struggles to maintain his composure as Belle continues. "This gathering is more than mere diplomacy," she declares. "It is a test. Will humanity submit to the established order of the galaxy? Or do you pose a threat that must be eliminated?" The chamber falls deathly silent. Every eye, sensory organ, and data receptor focuses on Lawrence. The weight of his species' future presses down on him, threatening to crush him beneath its enormity. As Lawrence grapples with the magnitude of the moment, something tugs at the edges of his consciousness. Subtle details about Belle's appearance and mannerisms trigger a sense of déjà vu. The curve of her jaw, the cadence of her speech, they seem oddly familiar, yet he can't place why. He pushes the distracting thoughts aside, forcing himself to focus on the crisis at hand. The other aliens watch intently, their own alliances and opinions of humanity hanging on his next move. Lawrence takes a deep breath, steadying himself for what's to come. His mind races through potential outcomes and diplomatic strategies. He opens his mouth to speak, knowing his words and actions in the next few moments will shape the course of human history. The fate of Earth rests on his shoulders, and he prays he's equal to the task. Lawrence's pulse raced as he considered his next move. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on him, but a spark of inspiration ignited in his mind. Instead of kneeling or remaining defiantly upright, he took a deliberate step forward, extending his hand toward Belle in a gesture that was neither submission nor challenge, but an offer of partnership. A collective gasp rippled through the alien dignitaries. Tentacles froze mid-writhe, and bioluminescent patches flickered in confusion. Belle's silver eyes widened, her iridescent scales shimmering as she tilted her head, studying Lawrence's outstretched hand with a mix of curiosity and respect. Seizing the moment of stunned silence, Lawrence found his voice. "We are not here to submit or to threaten," he began, his words ringing clear through the crystalline chamber. "Humanity comes seeking partnership, growth, and mutual understanding." As he spoke, Lawrence noticed a subtle shift in Belle's posture. The predatory tension in her form began to soften, replaced by genuine interest. In courage, he continued, his passion infusing every word. "Earth is a tapestry of cultures, each thread unique yet woven together. We've faced our own conflicts, our own struggles. But it's through these challenges that we've learned to adapt, to innovate, to reach for the stars not with the intent to conquer, but to connect." The chamber hung on his every word, alien dignitaries leaning forward, their varied sensory organs fixed on the human diplomat. Even Belle had taken a step closer, her earlier aggression replaced by rapt attention. Suddenly, a piercing alarm shattered the moment. The crystalline walls pulsed with angry red light, casting eerie shadows across the gathered aliens. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing a massive asteroid hurtling toward the Seelie homeworld. Chaos erupted. Aliens of all species scrambled, their panic manifesting in a cacophony of shrieks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses. Amidst the pandemonium, Belle remained a statue of calm, her silver eyes locked on Lawrence. In that instant, Lawrence saw an opportunity. "We can help," he said, raising his voice above the din. "Earth has developed advanced asteroid deflection technology. Let us demonstrate our worth not through words, but through action." Belle's scaled brow arched, a flicker of intrigue dancing in her metallic gaze. "You would aid us in our time of need?" she asked, her voice carrying an undercurrent of curiosity. "Without hesitation," Lawrence replied firmly. A smile played at the corners of Belle's mouth, revealing the hint of those unervingly sharp teeth. "Then perhaps your species has more to offer than we first assumed. This crisis is, in fact, part of our test. Your response is most illuminating." Lawrence wasted no time. He activated his communication device, quickly relaying coordinates and instructions to Earth Space Command. As he spoke, Belle moved closer, her scale form radiating an otherworldly heat. "Your ships are on their way?" she asked, her breath tickling Lawrence's ear. He nodded, suppressing a shiver at her proximity. "They'll be here soon. Our deflection technology has never failed us." Belle's smile widened. "Excellent. While we wait, perhaps you'd join me in a more private setting. There is much to discuss about the future of our species." Lawrence felt the weight of a dozen alien gazes as Belle led him from the main chamber. They entered a smaller room, its walls alive with bioluminescent plants and shimmering holographic displays. The door sealed behind them with a soft hiss, muffling the continued commotion outside. "You've surprised us, Lawrence Ross," Belle said, her form seeming to shift and shimmer in the room's ethereal light. "Few species have shown such initiative when faced with our test." Lawrence watched in fascination as Belle's scales became more iridescent, her features subtly altering to appear more human-like. "What exactly are the Seelie?" he asked, unable to mask his curiosity. Belle's silver eyes sparkled with ancient wisdom. "We are more than merely immortal," she explained, her voice taking on a melodic quality. "We are shapeshifters, memory weavers. Through physical contact, we can absorb the experiences, the very essence of other species." She moved closer, her transformed hand hovering near Lawrence's arm. "It has granted us vast knowledge, but at a cost. We've grown stagnant, lacking the spark of innovation that drives younger races like your own." Lawrence felt his heart racing, both from the proximity of this alien beauty and the implications of her words. "And humanity? What role do you see for us in the galaxy?" Bell's fingers brushed against his skin, sending a jolt of electricity through his body. We believe your adaptability, your creativity, could be the key to our renaissance. In exchange for sharing your experiences, we offer technology beyond your imagination and access to the accumulated history of 1,000 worlds. Lawrence's mind reeled at the possibilities, but caution tempered his excitement. And the nature of this exchange? What would it entail? Belle's form shimmered again, her features becoming an enticing blend of human and Seelie. We propose a cultural immersion, selected humans living among us, sharing their perspectives, and for those who wish it, a deeper bonding. Her hand moved to Lawrence's cheek, the touch igniting a fire in his veins. Like this, she whispered, a melding of minds and memories, the chance to truly understand one another. Lawrence felt himself drawn in by those mesmerizing silver eyes, even as his diplomatic training screamed caution. The potential for human advancement was staggering, but at what cost? As he opened his mouth to respond, a chime from the room's communication system cut through the tension. The Earth fleet has arrived, a disembodied voice announced. Belle's hand fell away, leaving Lawrence feeling strangely bereft. It seems we have a more immediate crisis to attend to, she said, her tone a mixture of regret and anticipation. But this conversation is just getting started, Lawrence Ross. The fate of both our species may well hinge on what comes next. As they moved to exit the chamber, Lawrence's mind raced with the possibilities and dangers that lay ahead. The immediate threat of the asteroid loomed, but beyond that stretched a future filled with both promise and peril. He straightened his shoulders, ready to face whatever challenges awaited, knowing that every decision from this point on would shape the course of human history among the stars. Stars. As Lawrence stepped out of the private chamber with Belle, his mind still reeling from their intense conversation, a sudden commotion drew their attention. The Earth fleet has arrived, a voice announced through the communication system. Belle's silver eyes locked onto Lawrence's. It seems our discussion must be paused for now. Come, we have a more pressing matter to attend to. They swiftly made their way through winding crystalline corridors, alien dignitaries scrambling in every direction. The urgency of the situation was palpable as they entered a vast, dome-shaped room that served as the Seelie Command Center. Holographic displays filled the air, showcasing the approaching asteroid and the newly arrived Earth fleet. Alien technology pulsed and hummed, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that left Lawrence momentarily breathless. A tall, regal Seelie female approached them, her scales a deep blue that seemed to ripple with each movement. I am Admiral Zara, she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. We must act quickly if we are to save our world. Lawrence nodded, pushing aside his lingering thoughts about the earlier conversation with Belle. I'm Lawrence Ross, Earth's diplomatic representative. Our fleet stands ready to assist. The three of them gathered around a central holographic display, coordinating the combined efforts of the human and Seelie forces. As the asteroid drew closer, it became apparent that this was no ordinary space rock. Our initial deflection attempts are having minimal effect, Admiral Zara reported, her scaled brow furrowing in concern. The asteroid appears to be composed of an unknown material that absorbs energy. Lawrence studied the readouts, his mind racing. What if we combined our technologies? Earth's deflection systems with Seelie energy weapons might create a more powerful deterrent. Belle's eyes widened, a spark of admiration visible in their silvery depths. An innovative suggestion, Lawrence. Admiral, can we implement this? Admiral Zara nodded sharply. It's worth attempting. I'll give the order immediately. As they worked to integrate the two technologies, Lawrence found himself in close proximity to Belle. Her scales shimmered with an intensity that seemed to match the urgency of the situation. Occasionally, she would brush against him, sending jolts of electricity through his body, a vivid reminder of the potential for deeper bonding she had mentioned earlier. Hours passed in a blur of tense calculations, rapid-fire orders, and nail-biting moments as the combined fleet maneuvered into position. The integrated weapon systems powered up, casting an eerie glow across the command center. "Fire!" Admiral Zar commanded. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the fleet, striking the asteroid with devastating force. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if even this enhanced attack would fail. Then, slowly but surely, the massive space rock began to change course. Cheers erupted throughout the command center as the asteroid's trajectory shifted, missing the Sealy homeworld by a safe margin. Lawrence felt a wave of relief wash over him, matched by the palpable joy radiating from Bell and the other Sealy. "We did it," Bell said, her hand resting on Lawrence's arm. The touch sent another spark through him, but this time it felt like a celebration of their shared victory. Admiral Zara approached them, her posture relaxed for the first time since they'd entered the command center. "Your quick thinking may have saved our world, Lawrence Ross. The Sealy owe you and humanity a debt of gratitude." Before Lawrence could respond, Bell interjected. "We should return to the crystal chamber. No doubt the other dignitaries will want to celebrate this momentous occasion." As they made their way back, Lawrence couldn't help but notice the changed atmosphere. Aliens of various species nodded respectfully as he passed, a far cry from the tense standoff of earlier. The crystal chamber had transformed into a scene of jubilation. Bioluminescent decorations pulsed in time with alien music, creating a surreal party atmosphere. Lawrence found himself swept up in a whirlwind of congratulations and animated discussions about the future of interspecies cooperation. Amidst the celebrations, Bell approached Lawrence, her form seeming to shimmer even more vibrantly than before. "Come with me," she said, her voice low and inviting. "There's something we need to discuss in private." She led him away from the main gathering into a secluded garden within the Sealy Palace. Bioluminescent plants cast a soft, ethereal glow, while floating crystals emitted gentle pulses of light. The beauty of the scene momentarily took Lawrence's breath away. Bell turned to face him, her silver eyes intense. "The Sealy High Council is impressed by humanity's actions today. They're considering a formal alliance with Earth." Lawrence's pulse quickened at the implications. "That's incredible news. But I sense there's more to it." Bell nodded, taking a step closer. "Such an alliance would require a deeper understanding between our species. I propose that you and I undergo a Sealy bonding ritual. It would allow us to share memories, experiences, to truly know one another." As Lawrence processed this information, Bell's scales seemed to ripple, her form subtly altering to appear more human-like. "This bond," she continued, her voice taking on a husky quality, "would be both mental and physical." The implication sent a shiver down Lawrence's spine. He opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, a commotion erupted from the main chamber. Shouts and the sound of breaking crystal cut through the garden's serenity. Bell's form instantly shifted back to its fully Sealy appearance, her posture tense. "We need to go back. Now." They rushed back to the crystal chamber to find chaos. A group of towering, reptilian aliens had entered uninvited, their aggressive postures a stark contrast to the celebratory atmosphere of moments ago. At the center of the group stood a massive male, his scales a deep, threatening red. His voice boomed across the chamber as he faced Bell. "I am Krax, ambassador of the Vorix. We demand that the Sealy abandon any plans for an alliance with these humans." Bell drew herself up, her earlier warmth replaced by regal authority. "The Sealy make their own decisions, Krax. Humanity has proven their worth today." Krax's eyes narrowed, his massive form seeming to swell with anger. "They are children playing with forces beyond their comprehension. We cannot allow them access to advanced galactic knowledge." As the confrontation escalated, Lawrence noticed subtle changes in Belle's appearance. Her scales pulsed with impossibly strong energy, and her form seemed to fluctuate slightly. He wondered if these changes were involuntary or if Belle was preparing for a potential conflict. The tension in the room reached a fever pitch as Krax made his next statement. If the Seelie insist on this foolish course, the Vorks may be forced to take preemptive action against Earth, for the good of the galactic community, of course. A hush fell over the assembled aliens. Lawrence felt a surge of protectiveness, both for his home planet and for Belle. He knew that his next words could either defuse the situation or plunge the galaxy into interspecies war. Taking a deep breath, Lawrence stepped forward to address the Vork's ambassador directly. All eyes in the chamber turned to him, the weight of the moment pressing down like a physical force. As he opened his mouth to speak, Lawrence silently prayed that he could find the right words to navigate this cosmic minefield. Crisis. Taking a deep breath, Lawrence stepped forward, his posture straight and his voice clear as he addressed the imposing Vork's ambassador. Ambassador Krax, Lawrence began, his tone respectful yet firm. I understand your concerns about the balance of power in the galaxy. However, I believe there's a way forward that can address the interests of all parties involved. Krax's reptilian eyes narrowed, but he remained silent, allowing Lawrence to continue. I propose a trilateral meeting between humans, Seelie, and Vorks. This would give us an opportunity to openly discuss our concerns, establish mutual trust, and find common ground. The chamber fell silent as the assembled dignitaries processed Lawrence's suggestion. Krax's massive form seemed to tense, then relax slightly. You speak with wisdom beyond your years, human, Krax rumbled, his voice a mix of surprise and grudging respect. The Vorks will consider your proposal. As the tension in the room dissipated, Belle gently tugged on Lawrence's arm, guiding him to a private alcove within the crystal chamber. Her silver eyes were intense as she leaned in close. Lawrence, there's more to the situation than meets the eye, she whispered urgently. The Vork's threat is far more severe than they're letting on. We have reason to believe their spies have infiltrated key positions within the Seelie government. Lawrence's eyes widened at the revelation. That's why you're pushing for a deeper alliance with humanity? Belle nodded, her scales shimmering with anxiety. A human-Seelie alliance might be our best chance to counteract this threat. But for it to work, we need a deeper understanding between our species. She paused, her gaze searching Lawrence's face. I know this is sudden, but would you be willing to participate in a Seelie bonding ritual with me? It would allow us to share knowledge and experiences on a level that could be crucial for our survival. Lawrence's heart raced as he considered the implications. The diplomat in him recognized the potential benefits, while another part of him was drawn to the alien beauty before him. After a moment's hesitation, he nodded. I'll do it, he said softly. Belle's relief was palpable as she led Lawrence out of the main chamber and through a series of winding corridors. They arrived at a hidden entrance that opened into a bioluminescent cave. At its center lay a large, crystalline pool that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. This is our sacred bonding chamber, Belle explained, her voice filled with reverence. The crystalline-fused water facilitates both mental and physical connection. As they approached the pool, Belle's form began to change. Her scales became more fluid, her features shifting to appear more human-like, while retaining their alien allure. Lawrence felt a surge of attraction as Belle stepped into the water, beckoning him to join her. The moment Lawrence entered the pool, he felt a tingling sensation across his skin. Belle moved closer, her silver eyes locked onto his. Are you ready? She asked softly. Lawrence nodded, his breath catching as Belle's hand gently touched his cheek. The contact sent a jolt of energy through his body, and suddenly his mind was flooded with vivid images. He saw flashes of ancient Seelie cities, their architecture a blend of organic forms and crystalline structures. He witnessed their first encounters with other alien races, feeling the mixture of wonder and trepidation that accompanied each new discovery. As the mental connection deepened, Lawrence became aware of Bell's body pressing against his. He saw a secret Sealy facility, filled with advanced technology. At its center stood a massive device, clearly a weapon of immense power. With a jolt, Lawrence realized its purpose: to neutralize Vork's technology. The revelation sent a shock through Lawrence, momentarily disrupting the flow of the ritual. As he grappled with this new information, the bonding reached its climax. Energy surged through both their bodies, and Lawrence felt as if every cell in his being was alight with newfound knowledge and sensation. As the intensity subsided, Lawrence and Bell slowly separated, their bodies still tingling with residual energy. Lawrence felt fundamentally changed, a new connection to Bell and the Sealy species pulsing within him. Yet the weight of the secret he had uncovered pressed heavily on his mind. They emerged from the pool, their movements slow and deliberate as they adjusted to the lingering effects of the ritual. As they dressed, Lawrence struggled with how to approach the subject of the secret weapon. The information could dramatically alter the balance of power between the species, potentially jeopardizing the alliance they had worked so hard to forge. Before he could find the words to broach the topic, an urgent message arrived from Admiral Zara. Her holographic form appeared, her scales a dark blue that reflected her concern. "Bell, Lawrence, we need you in the command center immediately." Zara's voice was tense. "The Vork's fleet has begun mobilizing at the edge of our system. Their intentions are unclear, but we must assume the worst." As the hologram faded, Lawrence and Bell exchanged a loaded glance. The situation had become even more complex, with Lawrence now caught between his loyalty to humanity, his new connection to Bell and the Sealy, and the looming threat of the Vorks. "We should go," Bell said softly, her hand brushing against Lawrence's. As they hurried towards the command center, Lawrence's mind raced. The knowledge gained from the bonding ritual burdened immensely on him, and he knew that his next actions would have far-reaching consequences for all three species and the future of galactic relations. The corridors of the Sealy Palace seemed to blur around them as they ran, the urgency of the situation pressing down like a physical force. As they approached the command center, Lawrence steeled himself for what lay ahead, knowing that the true test of his diplomatic skills and his newfound connection to the Sealy was about to begin. The tension in the air was palpable as they burst through the doors of the command center. The scene before them was one of controlled chaos. Admiral Zara stood at the center of the room, her scales a dark, stormy blue as she barked orders to a mix of Sealy and human personnel. Holographic displays filled the air, showing the positions of the advancing Vork ships as pulsing red dots against the backdrop of Sealy space. Lawrence stepped forward, his mind still reeling from the bonding ritual and the weight of the secret he now carried. "Admiral, I have information that could be crucial to our defense," he began. Before he could continue, a violent tremor shook the building. The floor beneath their feet seemed to heave, and the holographic displays flickered and distorted. Alarms blared, their shrill cries adding to the cacophony of shouts and running feet. Admiral Zara's voice cut through the chaos. "Report." A young Sealy officer, his scales pale with fear, responded. "Vork saboteurs have breached our defenses, Admiral. They've disabled the planetary shields." As if to confirm his words, the largest holographic display showed a ripple of energy dissipating around the planet. The red dots representing the Vork's fleet surged forward, no longer held at bay by the invisible barrier. "They're launching a full-scale attack," Bell whispered, her silver eyes wide with disbelief. Lawrence's mind raced, weighing the consequences of revealing what he knew. The secret weapon he had glimpsed in Bell's memories during their bonding could turn the tide, but at what cost? Making his decision, Lawrence turned to Bell. "The weapon I saw in your memories, could it stop this attack?" Bell's form shimmered, her scales rippling with surprise and concern. How did you... She shook her head, refocusing on the crisis at hand. Yes, but using it would have severe consequences. Admiral Zara overheard their exchange. What weapon? If we have a way to stop this attack, we need to use it now. Belle hesitated, then nodded. Follow me, she said, leading them to a hidden panel in the wall of the command center. As she placed her hand on it, the panel slid away, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. They hurried down the stairs, the sounds of battle growing more distant with each step. The air grew cooler, and Lawrence felt a strange tingling sensation on his skin, similar to what he had experienced during the bonding ritual. The staircase opened into a vast underground chamber. At its center stood an enormous crystal, pulsing with an inner light that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Energy crackled around it, making the air itself feel alive. This is the heart of our ultimate defense system, Belle explained, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation. When activated, it emits an energy wave that disables all non-Seelie technology within its range. Lawrence's eyes widened as he realized the implications. But that would affect the human ships as well, wouldn't it? Belle nodded grimly. Yes, it's a measure of last resort. Using it would strand your people here, possibly for a long time. Admiral Zara moved towards the crystal's control panel, her scales shifting to a determined green. We don't have a choice. The Vorix will destroy us all if we don't act now. As she reached for the controls, the chamber door exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris strode Cracks, flanked by a group of heavily armed Vorix soldiers. Their reptilian features were twisted into snarls of rage and triumph. Step away from the crystal, Cracks growled, his massive form seeming to fill the chamber. Lawrence instinctively moved to stand between the Vorix and his allies. Cracks, think about what you're doing. This doesn't have to end in more violence. Crax's response was a roar as he charged forward. The chamber erupted into chaos as Vorix soldiers engaged with Belle and Admiral Zara. Lawrence found himself facing off against Crax, using every diplomatic skill he had to try and reason with the enraged ambassador while dodging his powerful blows. We can still find a peaceful solution, Lawrence shouted, ducking under a swipe of Crax's clawed hand. As the fight raged on, Lawrence noticed Belle's form become more fluid. Her scales hardened into armor-like plates, and she moved with an inhuman grace as she fought off two Vorix soldiers simultaneously. In the midst of the melee, Admiral Zara managed to break away and reach the crystal's control panel. With a quick series of inputs, she activated the device. A blinding pulse of energy erupted from the crystal, rippling outward through the chamber and beyond. The Vorix weapons immediately went dead in their hands, and the sounds of battle from above abruptly ceased. In the sudden silence that followed, Lawrence became aware of a new sensation. The connection he had formed with Belle during their bonding seemed to have intensified. He could sense her thoughts, her emotions, as clearly as if they were his own. Crax, realizing the sudden vulnerability of his position, backed away from Lawrence. His eyes darted around the chamber, taking in the disabled weapons and the determined faces of his opponents. Lawrence seized a moment. Crax, the situation has changed. The human-Seelie alliance is stronger than you realized, and continuing this aggression will only lead to more losses for your people. Crax's reptilian features contorted as he weighed his options. Finally, he let out a low hiss. A temporary truce, he growled. But this is not over. As the immediate danger passed, Lawrence became acutely aware of the deepening connection with Belle. He turned to her, questions forming in his mind, only to be interrupted by a new crisis. Alarms began to blare once more, their tone different from before. Admiral Zara rushed to a still-functioning console, her scales paling as she read the display. The energy pulse has affected critical life support systems, she announced, her voice tense. Both on the planet and the orbiting ships. If we don't restore power soon. Lawrence's mind raced, grappling with the weight of the situation. The bond with Bell, the fragile truce with the Vorix, the urgent need to restore technology, all of it pressed down on him, demanding action. Before he could formulate a plan, a new presence made itself known. A shimmering portal opened in the air, and through it stepped a figure unlike any Lawrence had seen before. The newcomer was tall and lithe, with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with each movement. Her eyes, a swirling mix of colors, surveyed the room with an otherworldly intelligence. "I am Lyra, ambassador of the Zephyrians," she announced, her voice melodious and strangely compelling. "We offer our assistance in restoring your systems." As Lawrence studied the Zephyrian ambassador, he couldn't shake the feeling that her arrival had just added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. The next few hours, he realized, would shape not just the future of human-Seelie relations, but potentially the balance of power throughout the galaxy. With a deep breath, Lawrence stepped forward to address Lyra, acutely aware of the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders. The challenges ahead were immense, but as he felt Bell's presence in his mind and saw the determined faces of his allies around him, he knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Together, the arrival of Lyra had shifted the dynamics of their predicament, but Lawrence knew they couldn't afford to be distracted from the immediate crisis at hand. "Ambassador Lyra," Lawrence began, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "We appreciate your offer of assistance, but we need to address our critical systems first." Lyra inclined her head, her iridescent skin shimmering with each movement. "Of course. How may we be of help?" Lawrence turned to Admiral Zara and Bell, his mind already formulating a plan. "We need to restore power selectively, prioritizing life support systems while keeping our defenses offline. It's the only way to maintain this fragile peace." Admiral Zara's scales rippled with concern. "It's risky, but you're right. We don't have many options." "I can guide us through the process," Bell added, her silver eyes meeting Lawrence's. He felt a surge of confidence through their bond, strengthening his tenacity. "Then let's move," Lawrence said, taking charge of the situation. "We'll need a team to modify the crystal's output. Admiral Zara, Bell, Ambassador Lyra, you're with me." As they made their way back to the crystal chamber, Krax's gravelly voice halted them. "And what of us? Do you expect the Vorix to stand idle while you potentially sabotage our systems?" Lawrence turned to face the Vorix ambassador, aware of the delicate balance he needed to maintain. "Krax, I understand your concerns. You are welcome to send a small contingent to observe the process. We're all in this together now." Krax's reptilian features contorted in a mix of surprise and suspicion, but he nodded his assent. "Very well. We will watch closely." The expanded group descended into the crystal chamber, the massive gem pulsing with latent energy at its center. Lawrence and Bell approached the control panel, their movements in perfect synchronization as they began to work on modifying the crystal's energy output. As Lawrence's fingers danced across the alien interface, he felt Bell's knowledge flow through him, guiding his actions. Their bond had intensified, allowing them to work as one mind with two bodies. Admiral Zara and the Vorix observers watched in awe as the human and Seelie manipulated complex systems with uncanny precision. Lyra moved closer, her otherworldly eyes fixed on the crystal. "Fascinating technology," she murmured. "Perhaps I could offer some insights from Zephyrian science?" Lawrence nodded, but as Lyra reached for the controls, he felt a sudden spike of alarm through his connection with Bell. In that instant, he knew something was wrong. "Admiral, now!" Lawrence shouted, spinning to face Lyra. Admiral Zara moved with lightning speed, her scales flashing to a battle-ready crimson as she tackled Lyra away from the controls. The Zephyrian ambassador's form shimmered, her once serene features twisting into a snarl as she fought back. "Belle, finish the sequence," Lawrence called out, rushing to help Admiral Zara subdue Lyra. The chamber erupted into chaos as more Zephyrian agents appeared, seemingly materializing from thin air. The Vorik soldiers, initially caught off guard, quickly joined the fray, their earlier animosity toward the Seelie and humans forgotten in the face of this new threat. Lawrence found himself back-to-back with Belle, their movements perfectly coordinated as they fended off Zephyrian attackers. He marveled at his own enhanced reflexes and strength, a result of their deepening bond. "The crystal's ready," Belle shouted over the din of battle. "We need to activate it now." Lawrence fought his way to the control panel, his body moving with a grace and power he'd never experienced before. As he reached for the activation switch, a Zephyrian agent lunged at him. Without conscious thought, Lawrence ducked and counterattacked, his movements guided by Belle's combat experience flowing through their bond. With a final push, Lawrence activated the modified crystal. A wave of energy, more controlled and focused than before, pulsed outward from the chamber. The Zephyrian agents faltered, their own advanced technology momentarily disrupted by the pulse. As the energy wave spread across the planet and into space, Lawrence felt a collective sigh of relief through his link with Belle. Life support systems were coming back online, and the immediate danger of catastrophic failure had passed. The Zephyrians, their advantage lost, were quickly subdued. Lyra, restrained by Admiral Zara, glared at Lawrence with a mix of anger and grudging respect. "You've made a powerful enemy today," Lyra hissed. Lawrence met her gaze steadily. "Or perhaps we've opened the door to a new understanding. Your actions here will have consequences, but they don't have to define our future relations." As the immediate crisis subsided, Lawrence turned to address the assembled group, Seelie, human Voriks, and the subdued Zephyrians. "What's happened here today has shown us something important. We're stronger together than we are apart. I propose we use this moment to begin real peace talks, to form a coalition that can face whatever challenges lie ahead." Crack stepped forward, his massive form imposing, but his posture less aggressive than before. "The Voriks are not known for cooperation, but we are not blind to necessity. We will hear your proposal." Admiral Zara nodded her agreement, her scales shifting to a more diplomatic hue. "The Seelie are willing to negotiate in good faith." As the leaders began to discuss the framework for their negotiations, Lawrence felt a gentle touch on his arm. He turned to find Belle looking at him with an expression of both pride and concern. "We need to talk," she said softly, leading him away from the group. In a quiet corner of the chamber, Belle's silver eyes searched Lawrence's face. "You've noticed the changes, haven't you? Your enhanced abilities, the deepening of our bond?" Lawrence nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through him. "It's unlike anything I've ever experienced. What's happening to me, Belle?" Belle's form shimmered slightly, a sign of her own emotional state. "Our bond is evolving in ways we never anticipated. The combination of human adaptability and Seelie immortality. It's creating something new, something that could bridge the gap between our species and others." As Lawrence processed this information, he became acutely aware of the attraction between them, intensified by their shared experiences and deepening connection. The air seemed to crackle with unspoken tension. Before either of them could act on their feelings, Admiral Zara's voice cut through the moment. "Lawrence, Belle, we need you back here. Long-range sensors have detected something troubling." Exchanging a look that promised future conversation, Lawrence and Belle rejoined the group. Admiral Zara's expression was grim as she brought up a holographic display. "A massive fleet of unknown origin is approaching the Seelie system," she announced, her scales a deep, worried blue. "Their technology, it's beyond anything we've seen before." As the implications of this new threat sank in, Lawrence felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders once more. The challenges they had faced so far suddenly seemed like mere prelude to what was coming. Drawing strength from his connection with Bell, Lawrence squared his shoulders and faced the assembled leaders. "It seems our newfound coalition will be tested sooner than we expected," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We need to prepare. Together." As the group began to strategize, Lawrence couldn't help but wonder what other changes and challenges lay ahead, both for himself and for the fragile alliance he had helped forge. The unknown fleet loomed in his mind, a harbinger of trials to come, but he felt ready to face whatever the universe had in store. The unknown fleet loomed in his mind, a harbinger of trials to come, but he felt ready to face whatever the universe had in store. As the massive fleet drew closer, the newly formed coalition sprang into action. Admiral Zara's scales shifted to a deep, focused blue as she coordinated the combined Sealy, human, and Vork's forces. Ships of various designs and sizes moved into strategic positions around the planet, their crews working together despite their recent conflicts. Lawrence stood at the heart of the command center, his enhanced senses allowing him to process multiple streams of information simultaneously. Bell's presence in his mind was a constant source of support and knowledge as he worked to decode the alien fleet's communication signals. "I've got something," Lawrence announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "It's a message." They're identifying themselves as the Nexus Collective. Admiral Zara leaned in, her eyes narrowing. "Can we establish two-way communication?" Lawrence nodded, feeling Bell's encouragement flow through their bond. "Initiating contact now." The chamber fell silent as a deep, resonant voice filled the air. "This is High Commander Vex of the Nexus Collective. We request a face-to-face meeting with your coalition representatives." After a brief discussion, the coalition agreed to meet on a neutral space station orbiting the Sealy homeworld. Lawrence, Bell, Admiral Zara, and Krax boarded a shuttle, the tension palpable as they ascended through the atmosphere. As they approached the rendezvous point, Lawrence gasped, overwhelmed by a sudden surge in his senses. The vastness of space seemed to unfold before him in intricate detail, every star and distant planet crystal clear in his vision. Bell steadied him, her silver eyes meeting his. "Focus on my voice, Lawrence. Let the sensations flow through you without resistance." With her guidance, Lawrence managed to stabilize his newfound abilities. By the time they docked at the space station, he felt more in control, his heightened perception now an asset rather than a distraction. The coalition representatives were escorted to a vast, circular chamber. As the door slid open, Lawrence's enhanced vision immediately took in every detail of the assembled alien delegation. High Commander Vex stood at the center, a towering figure with multiple limbs and skin that shimmered with iridescent patterns. Surrounding him were representatives from various species, each more alien and fascinating than the last. "Welcome," Vex's voice reverberated through the chamber. "We have been observing the recent events in your system with great interest." The High Commander explained the Nexus Collective's mission to find species capable of transcending biological limitations through interspecies bonding. Lawrence felt a mix of pride and apprehension as Vex described the unprecedented nature of his connection with Bell. "We propose a series of tests," Vex continued, gesturing to a bank of complex machinery, "to evaluate the extent of your capabilities and the potential benefits for galactic civilization." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a glance, their bond humming with shared thoughts and emotions. They stepped forward together, ready to face the challenge. The first test began immediately. Lawrence found himself in a chamber filled with alien technology, separated from Bell by a translucent barrier. As he approached the unfamiliar controls, he felt knowledge flowing through his bond with Bell, guiding his actions. His fingers moved with surprising dexterity, manipulating holographic interfaces and adjusting energy flows. Through their mental link, Lawrence could sense Bell in the adjacent chamber, her actions perfectly synchronized with his own. As the test progressed, Lawrence became aware of further changes in his body. His skin took on a faint, shimmering quality reminiscent of Bell's scales. His reflexes sharpened to an almost preternatural degree, allowing him to react to the increasingly complex challenges with ease. The Coalition members watched in awe as Lawrence and Bell navigated through a series of mental and physical trials. Even High Commander Vex seemed impressed, his multiple eyes widening as the human Sealy pair demonstrated abilities far beyond either of their original species. As the initial round of tests concluded, Vex approached Lawrence and Bell. "Your performance has exceeded our expectations. We have a proposal for you, one that could reshape the future of galactic cooperation." The High Commander revealed the existence of an ancient, powerful artifact hidden in a dangerous region of space. This object, Vex explained, had the potential to amplify Lawrence and Bell's abilities to an unprecedented level. "We offer you the coordinates and limited information about the dangers you may face," Vex said. He focused his perception, detecting a subtle shift in the space station's energy readings. "There's a cloaked ship approaching," Lawrence whispered urgently to Admiral Zara. "I think it's Zephyrian." The Admiral's scales flashed with alarm. "Can you pinpoint its location?" Lawrence closed his eyes, concentrating on the faint energy signature. "They're approaching from the station's lower quadrant. We have minutes, maybe less." As the Coalition scrambled to respond to this new threat, Lawrence and Bell found themselves at a crossroads. The promise of the artifact and its potential to enhance their abilities beckoned, but the immediate danger posed by the Zephyrians demanded their attention. Lawrence felt Bell's presence in his mind, her thoughts aligning with his own. Whatever they decided, they would face it together. As the space station's alarms began to blare, signaling the approach of the cloaked Zephyrian vessel, Lawrence and Bell prepared themselves for the challenges ahead, knowing that their evolving bond might be the key to navigating the increasingly complex galactic landscape that lay before them. As alarms blared throughout the space station, Lawrence's enhanced senses kicked into overdrive. He turned to Admiral Zara, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. "The Zephyrian ship is approaching from the lower quadrant. We have minutes at most." Admiral Zara's scales flashed a deep, urgent blue as she barked orders into her communicator. "Activate all defense systems. Prepare for potential hostile engagement." Krax, the Vort's representative, bared his teeth in a fierce grin. "My warriors stand ready. We will crush these intruders if they dare to attack." High Commander Vex observed the unfolding situation with his multiple eyes, each one tracking a different aspect of the Coalition's response. "Perhaps," he intoned, his resonant voice cutting through the commotion, "we can offer a more elegant solution." All eyes turned to the towering alien as Vex continued. "The Nexus Collective possesses advanced anti-cloaking technology. We can neutralize this Zephyrian threat swiftly and decisively." Lawrence felt Bell's presence in his mind, her thoughts aligning with his own wariness. There was always a catch with such offers. As if reading their shared suspicion, Vex added, "In exchange, we ask for your immediate commitment to pursue the artifact we discussed earlier." The Coalition leaders exchanged glances, the weight of a decision hanging heavy in the air. Lawrence closed his eyes, focusing on the faint energy signature of the cloaked ship. They were running out of time. "We accept," Lawrence declared, feeling Bell's agreement pulse through their bond. Vex nodded, his iridescent skin shimmering as he gestured to one of his aides. Within moments, a sleek device was activated, emitting a pulse of energy that rippled through the space around the station. Lawrence gasped as his enhanced vision suddenly registered the Zephyrian ship, its cloaking field dissolving like mist in sunlight. The vessel hung exposed in space, its crew clearly caught off guard by their sudden visibility. Admiral Zara wasted no time. "Target their engines. Disable that ship." The space station's defensive systems locked onto the Zephyrian vessel, firing precision shots that crippled its propulsion systems. As the ship drifted helplessly, Lawrence could almost feel the frustration emanating from its occupants. "Bring them in," Admiral Czar commanded, her scales shifting to a more subdued hue as the immediate danger passed. As Sealy tractor beams guided the disabled Zephyrian ship into a secure docking bay, Lawrence turned his attention back to Vex. The High Commander was already extending a data crystal, its surface pulsing with stored information. "The coordinates for the artifact, along with what limited data we have on the region," Vex explained. "You'll also find schematics for necessary ship modifications. The journey will be challenging." Lawrence accepted the crystal, its weight in his hand seeming to represent the magnitude of the task ahead. As he interfaced with the data, his enhanced cognitive abilities allowing him to process the information at an astonishing rate, he felt a sudden shift in his body. A wave of heat washed over him, followed immediately by a bone-deep chill. Lawrence stumbled, steadying himself against a nearby console. Belle was at his side in an instant, her silver eyes filled with concern. "Lawrence," she probed, both verbally and through their mental link. He took a deep breath, marveling at how quickly his body adjusted to the temperature fluctuations. "I'm all right," he assured her. "It's just another change." Belle's eyes widened in understanding. "Your body is adapting, preparing for the environmental extremes we might face." As the Coalition scrambled to assemble a specialized team for the artifact retrieval mission, Lawrence underwent a series of medical examinations. The results both fascinated and alarmed the attending scientists. "Your cellular structure is becoming increasingly malleable," one of the human doctors explained, her voice a mix of professional interest and personal concern. "You're assimilating certain Sealy traits at a fundamental level." Lawrence nodded, having sensed these changes himself. He could feel his body becoming more adaptable, more resilient. But at what cost? As preparations for the mission neared completion, Lawrence found himself standing before the newly christened Nexus Seeker. The ship gleamed under the station's lights, its hull reinforced and systems upgraded to withstand the rigors of uncharted space. Captain Thorne, the Sealy pilot assigned to the mission, approached Lawrence with a respectful nod. "We're ready for departure when you are, sir." Lawrence sensed the unease radiating from some of the human crew members as they boarded the ship. Their sideways glances and hushed whispers didn't escape his enhanced hearing. He knew his transformation was a source of discomfort for them, a visible reminder of how far he had strayed from his human origins. In contrast, the Sealy members of the crew regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and approval. To them, his changes represented a new form of unity between their species. As the Nexus Seeker disengaged from the station and set course for the uncharted reaches of space, Lawrence stood on the bridge beside Belle. Through their deepening bond, he could perceive the star-studded void through her uniquely Sealy senses, adding new dimensions to the cosmic tapestry spread out before them. Days into their journey, as Lawrence and Belle worked to push the boundaries of their shared abilities, the ship's alarm suddenly blared to life. Captain Thorne's hands flew across the helm controls, his scales flashing with concentration. Massive gravitational anomaly dead ahead. Thorne called out, "It's not on any of our charts." Lawrence rushed to the navigation console, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to process the sensor data at incredible speed. The space before them was a maze of micro-singularities, shifting and pulsing in defiance of known physics. "Conventional routes won't work," Lawrence announced, his mind already calculating possible trajectories. "Captain, I'm feeding you a series of course corrections. They'll seem counterintuitive, but trust me." As Thorne expertly piloted the ship through the gravitational minefield, following Lawrence's guidance, the crew held their breath. The Nexus Seeker danced between points of crushing gravity, its hull groaning under the strain. Just as they cleared the last of the anomalies, the ship's sensors pinged with a new discovery. An energy signature, pulsing from a nearby asteroid field, matched the frequency mentioned in VEX data. But as the crew celebrated their survival and the potential proximity of their goal, a new challenge presented itself. The asteroid field was far from empty. Readings indicate a silicon-based life form inhabiting the asteroids, one of the science officers reported. And they don't seem friendly to organic matter. Lawrence felt a tingling sensation across his skin. Looking down, he saw his flesh taking on a subtle, rock-like texture. Another adaptation, he realized, perhaps in response to the new threat they faced. He turned to Bell, their eyes meeting in silent communication. They had come too far to turn back now. Whatever challenges these silicon entities presented, they would face them together. "Prepare to enter the asteroid field," Lawrence commanded, his voice steady despite the uncertainty that lay ahead. "And let's hope these new abilities of ours are up to the task." As the Nexus Seeker edged closer to the field of tumbling rocks and unknown dangers, Lawrence could feel the weight of the mission pressing down upon him. The artifact they sought could change everything for their coalition, for the Nexus Collective, for the entire galaxy. But first, they had to reach it. With a deep breath, Lawrence gave the order to proceed, leading his team into the heart of the asteroid field and whatever strange encounters awaited them there. The Nexus Seeker glided towards the asteroid field, its hull reflecting the dim light of distant stars. Lawrence stood at the view screen, his newly transformed skin catching the glow of the ship's instruments. The rock-like texture spread across his arms, a physical manifestation of his body's latest adaptation. Belle joined him, her silver eyes scanning the tumbling masses of stone and ice before them. Through their mental link, Lawrence sensed a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. "Captain Thorne," Lawrence called out, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Take us in nice and slow." Thorne's scales flickered in acknowledgement as his hands danced across the controls. The ship responded smoothly, weaving between the outer asteroids with precision. As they penetrated deeper into the field, the ship's sensors began to ping with increasing frequency. A science officer called out, "Energy readings are spiking. There's a concentrated source at the center of the field." Lawrence nodded, his enhanced senses already picking up on the subtle vibrations emanating from the heart of the asteroid cluster. He turned to Bell, their eyes meeting in silent communication. "It's time," he said, both aloud and through their mental bond. They made their way to the ship's communication array, a specially designed chamber that amplified their unique abilities. As they entered, Lawrence felt the familiar tingle of the neural interface activating. Bell's hand found his, their physical contact intensifying their connection. With a shared breath, they began to project their thoughts outward. Complex patterns of energy and information flowed from their minds, reaching out to the silicon-based life forms that called this asteroid field home. At first, there was nothing but silence. The crew waited, the tension palpable as seconds stretched into minutes. Then, just as doubt began to creep in, the asteroid field came alive. Massive rocks shifted, grinding against each other as they moved aside. A clear path formed through the center of the field, leading towards a pulsating energy source that grew brighter with each passing moment. "By the stars," Captain Thorne whispered, his scales flashing in awe. Lawrence and Bell maintained their focus, guiding the ship through the newly formed passage. As they progressed, the Nexus Seeker's systems began to falter. Screens flickered, and alarms blared as the exotic radiation interfered with the ship's delicate electronics. "Navigation's down," Thorne called out, his hands gripping the manual controls. "We're flying blind." Lawrence's eyes snapped open, his enhanced senses reaching out to perceive the subtle energy fluctuations around them. "I can guide us," he said, his voice straining with concentration. "Follow my directions, Captain." As Thorne expertly piloted the ship based on Lawrence's instructions, the crew watched in amazement as a massive structure came into view. A crystalline obelisk floated at the heart of the asteroid field, its surface pulsing with otherworldly energy. The ship shuddered as waves of power washed over it, the hull vibrating in response. Lawrence and Bell gasped in unison as their minds momentarily merged with the artifact's energy field, glimpses of ancient knowledge flashing through their consciousness. Suddenly, a beam of pure energy shot out from the obelisk, enveloping the Nexus Seeker. The crew braced for impact, but instead of destruction, they witnessed a miracle. The ship's systems began to upgrade at an astonishing rate, displays flickering with new information as the computer's capabilities expanded exponentially. "We're receiving data," the science officer reported, her voice filled with wonder. It's beyond anything we've ever seen." As the download continued, Lawrence and Bell's mental link to the artifact deepened. Images and concepts flooded their minds. Visions of an ancient race known as the Precursors, beings of unimaginable power who had seeded the galaxy with artifacts like this one. The silicon-based life forms revealed themselves, their crystalline bodies shimmering as they communicated their approval. They were guardians, created by the Precursors to protect the obelisk until worthy beings arrived to claim its power. Lawrence felt his body changing once again, his cellular structure rapidly adapting to incorporate elements of both Sealy and silicon-based biology. Through their mental link, he sensed Bell undergoing a similar transformation, her scales taking on a crystalline quality. The human crew members watched in a mixture of awe and fear as Lawrence and Bell's appearances became increasingly alien. Captain Thorne's voice cut through the silence. "Lawrence, Bell, are you still you?" Lawrence turned to face the captain, his now crystalline eyes focusing on Thorne's concerned face. "We are," he assured him, his voice resonating with newfound depth. "Our core identities remain intact, but we've been expanded." Before Thorne could respond, the artifact's energy output spiked dramatically. The Silicon Guardian's thoughts flooded Lawrence and Bell's minds with urgent warnings. The obelisk was preparing to relocate, and they needed to disconnect immediately or risk being transported to an unknown part of the galaxy. "Captain, we need to withdraw now," Lawrence shouted, his voice carrying the weight of the Guardian's warning. Thorne didn't hesitate. "All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers." As the Nexus Seeker began to pull away, Lawrence and Bell found themselves transfixed by their connection to the artifact. A final burst of information poured into their minds, revealing the existence of a network of similar artifacts scattered throughout the galaxy. With an enormous effort of will, they severed their connection to the obelisk. The sudden disconnection sent them reeling, their newly transformed bodies struggling to process the influx of knowledge and power. The artifact vanished in a blinding flash of light, taking the Silicon Guardians with it. The asteroid field began to collapse around them, rocks and debris flying in all directions. "Hold on," Thorne called out, his hands flying over the controls as he navigated the treacherous escape route. The Nexus Seeker weaved through the chaos, its newly enhanced systems giving it the edge it needed to stay ahead of the destruction. With a final burst of speed, they cleared the collapsing field, emerging into open space. Lawrence and Bell collapsed to the deck, overwhelmed by the mental and physical changes they had undergone. As the crew rushed them to the medical bay, the ship's enhanced systems began analyzing their new hybrid biology. Captain Thorne set a course back to the Sealy system, his mind blown from the implications of their discovery. As Lawrence and Bell lay in healing stasis, the crew debated the consequences of the knowledge they had gained and the transformations they had witnessed. The Nexus Seeker's long-range sensors pinged, detecting multiple energy signatures similar to the relocated artifact. It seemed their encounter had triggered something far greater than they could have imagined. As they journeyed home, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy itself was changing around them, reshaped by the awakening of the Precursor Network. As they journeyed home, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy itself was changing around them, reshaped by the awakening of the Precursor artifacts. The Nexus Seeker's engines hummed steadily as it approached the familiar contours of the Sealy system. Captain Thorne's scales flickered with relief as he guided the ship towards their home base. In the medical bay, the stasis pods housing Lawrence and Bell hissed open. They sat up slowly, their newly transformed bodies adjusting to consciousness. Lawrence blinked, his eyes now shimmering with a subtle crystalline quality. He flexed his fingers, marveling at the faint iridescence that played across his skin. Bell rose from her pod, her scales now a complex tapestry of colors that shifted with her movements. She locked eyes with Lawrence, their mental link instantly reconnecting. "We made it," she said, her voice carrying new harmonics. Lawrence nodded, feeling the ship's systems through his enhanced senses. "And we brought back more than we ever imagined." As they made their way to the bridge, crew members stared in awe at their transformed appearance. Lawrence and Bell's movements were fluid, almost ethereal, as if they were only partially bound by the laws of physics. Captain Thorne turned as they entered, his scales flashing a mixture of relief and uncertainty. "Welcome back," he said, his voice tight. "We're approaching the Sealy space station. There, eager to see you." The view screen showed the massive structure of the Coalition's central hub. Dozens of ships swarmed around it, more than usual. Lawrence sensed the heightened state of alert through the station's computer systems. "They know," he said simply. Bell nodded. "The artifact's relocation must have sent ripples through the galaxy. We've changed everything." As the Nexus Seeker docked, Lawrence and Bell prepared themselves for the reactions their new forms would elicit. The airlock cycled open, revealing a delegation led by the stern figure of Admiral Zara and the imposing presence of High Commander Vex. Zara's eyes widened as she took in Lawrence and Bell's appearance. "By the stars," she whispered. "What happened to you?" Lawrence stepped forward, his movements graceful and deliberate. "We've been changed, Admiral, but we're still ourselves. Our mission was a success, but it's brought new challenges." Vex's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession. "The artifact's energy signature has been detected in multiple locations across the galaxy. Your discovery has set something in motion, something big." Bell nodded. "We sense it too. The precursor network is awakening." The group moved to a secure briefing room. As they walked, Lawrence and Bell demonstrated their new abilities, interfacing effortlessly with the station systems. Information flowed through their minds at incredible speeds, allowing them to process and analyze data faster than any computer. During the debriefing, Lawrence and Bell shared their experiences, their mental link allowing them to present a unified and comprehensive report. Admiral Zara listened intently, her expression growing more concerned with each revelation. "This precursor technology could shift the balance of power in the galaxy," she said. "We need to act quickly to secure these artifacts before others do." High Commander Vex agreed. "The Nexus Collective is prepared to commit significant resources to a joint expedition. We must unlock the full potential of this technology." As they discussed plans for the expedition, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a massive fleet entering the system. "Unknown vessels," a tactical officer reported. "Their size and energy readings are off the charts." Lawrence and Bell shared a look of concern. Through their enhanced senses, they could feel the approaching fleet's power even at this distance. A communication channel opened and a stern voice filled the room. "Attention, inhabitants of the Sealy system. This is Grand Admiral Zar of the Axiom Imperium. We claim this sector and all precursor artifacts within it. Surrender your data and the transformed beings in your midst, or face the consequences." Admiral Zara's face hardened. "We will not be intimidated," she began, but her words were cut short as the station shuddered violently. "They've disabled the Outpost 7 with a single energy pulse," the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. Lawrence stepped forward, his mind racing with possibilities. "Admiral, I have a plan, but it's risky," and we'll need to act fast. As Lawrence outlined his proposal to reactivate the planet's ancient defenses, Bell added, "We can do this. Our hybrid biology allows us to interface with precursor technology in ways no one else can." Admiral Zara hesitated for a moment, weighing the enormous risk against the threat they faced. Finally, she nodded. "Do it, and may the stars be with us all." Lawrence and Bell were quickly escorted to a transport, racing against time as the Axiom Imperium fleet drew closer. As they descended towards the newly discovered precursor facility beneath the Sealy capital, they could feel the ancient power stirring, responding to their presence. The facility's entrance irised open, revealing a vast chamber filled with dormant technology. Lawrence and Bell stepped forward, their bodies beginning to glow softly as they approached the central control nexus. As they reached out to interface with the system, a shimmering hologram materialized before them. It took the form of a being unlike any they had encountered, its features a blend of organic and geometric shapes. "Identify yourselves, interlopers," the precursor AI demanded, its voice resonating through their minds. Lawrence and Bell stood their ground, their hybrid minds reaching out to engage with the ancient intelligence. The battle for control of the Sealy's defenses had begun, and with it, the fate of the entire coalition hung in the balance. The tension in the room was palpable as Lawrence and Bell exchanged a knowing glance. They had come too far to back down now. Without a word, Lawrence and Bell closed their eyes, their bodies beginning to emit a soft, pulsating glow. The others in the room watched in stunned silence as the two hybrid beings reached out with their minds, stretching their consciousness across the vast expanse of space. Their mental link expanded, pushing beyond the boundaries of the Sealy system and reaching towards the approaching Axiom Imperium fleet. The strain was immense, and beads of sweat formed on their brows as they pushed their newly enhanced abilities to their limits. As they delved deeper, a startling revelation unfolded before them. The Axiom Imperium was not the monolithic force it appeared to be. Instead, it was a coalition of diverse alien races, each with its own agenda and motivations. At the center of this complex web of alliances and rivalries stood Supreme Overlord Zaxos, but his position was not as it seemed. Bell's mind reeled as she uncovered the truth. "Lawrence," she communicated through their link, "Zaxos is just a figurehead. There's a hidden council controlling everything, the Axiom Conclave." Their mental presence did not go unnoticed. The members of the Axiom Conclave, alerted to the intrusion, turned their collective attention to Lawrence and Bell. The hybrid beings felt the weight of countless alien minds scrutinizing them, probing their unique nature. Suddenly, the mental landscape shifted. The hostility they had initially encountered gave way to curiosity and intrigue. Lawrence sensed a change in the Imperium's intentions. Back in the briefing room, Admiral Zara watched as Lawrence and Bell's bodies trembled with the effort of maintaining their long-range mental connection. "What's happening?" she demanded, her scales flickering with concern. Captain Thorne, monitoring their vital signs, shook his head in amazement. "Their neural activity is off the charts. Whatever they're doing, it's unlike anything we've seen before." Just then, the station's communication system crackled to life. The stern voice of Grand Admiral Zar filled the room once again, but this time there was a noticeable change in tone. "Inhabitants of the Sealy system, this is Grand Admiral Zar. We are intrigued by the unique individuals in your midst. The Axiom Conclave requests a meeting with these hybrid beings aboard our flagship, the Axiom Citadel. We propose a temporary cessation of hostilities to facilitate this discussion." The room erupted in a flurry of shocked whispers and exclamations. Admiral Zara's eyes narrowed as she considered the implications of this sudden change in stance. Lawrence and Bell slowly opened their eyes, their mental link with the Imperium fading. They looked exhausted but determined. "Admiral," Lawrence said, his voice carrying a new weight of responsibility, We've uncovered crucial information about the Axiom Imperium. Their offer is genuine, but there's more at stake than they're letting on." Bell nodded in agreement. "We believe it's in our best interest to accept their invitation. It may be our only chance to gain a deeper understanding of their true motives and capabilities." High Commander Vex's multiple eyes blinked rapidly as he processed the situation. "This could be a trap," he cautioned. "We cannot risk losing you to the Imperium." Admiral Zara paced the room, her scales shifting through a range of colors as she weighed their options. Finally, she turned to face Lawrence and Bell. "I don't like this, but I trust your judgment. If you believe this meeting is necessary, then we'll proceed, but not without precautions." She turned to Captain Thorne. "Assemble a small security team. You will accompany Lawrence and Bell to the Axiom Citadel." Thorne nodded, his expression a mix of grit and apprehension. "Understood, Admiral. We'll be ready for anything." As the team prepared for their unprecedented mission, Lawrence and Bell took a moment to center themselves. Their bodies were still adjusting to their hybrid nature, and the mental exertion had taken its toll. "Are you sure about this?" Lawrence asked Bell privately through their mental link. Bell's response carried a mixture of dedication and uncertainty. "No, but I'm sure we don't have a choice. Whatever the Axiom Conclave is planning, we need to face it head-on." Within the hour, Lawrence, Bell, Captain Thorne, and a small security detail stood ready in the station's main hangar. The air was thick with tension as they waited for the Axiom Imperium to initiate transport. Admiral Zara approached them, her expression grave. "Remember, your priority is to gather information and assess the threat. Do not make any binding agreements without consulting us first." Before anyone could respond, a shimmering energy field enveloped the group. Lawrence felt a tingling sensation spread throughout his body as the matter transfer beam engaged. The familiar surroundings of the Sealy station faded away, replaced by a dizzying rush of light and energy. Moments later, they rematerialized in a vast, dimly lit chamber. The architecture was unlike anything they had ever seen, a fusion of organic forms and advanced technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics. As their eyes adjusted to the new environment, Lawrence and Bell found themselves face to face with the imposing figures of the Axiom Conclave. The chamber was circular, its walls lined with holographic displays showing real-time data from across the galaxy. In the center stood a group of beings, each representing a different advanced species, their forms as varied as they were awe-inspiring. One of the Conclave members stepped forward, its body a shimmering mass of energy contained within a vaguely humanoid form. When it spoke, its voice resonated directly in their minds. "Welcome, hybrids of Earth and Sealy. We are the Axiom Conclave, and we have much to discuss." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a wary glance, their hybrid senses on high alert. They could feel the raw power emanating from the beings before them, but there was something else, a subtle undercurrent of energy that seemed familiar yet alien. As the Conclave began to outline their proposal, Lawrence's enhanced perception picked up on minute fluctuations in the energy field surrounding them. His mind raced, piecing together the clues hidden within the very fabric of the Axiom Citadel. Bell, attuned to Lawrence's thoughts, began to subtly alter her form. Her scales shifted, enhancing her sensory capabilities as she scanned their surroundings. What she discovered sent a shiver of alarm through their mental link. They were standing at a crossroads, not just for themselves or the Coalition, but for the entire galaxy. The next few moments would determine the course of their future, and the weight of that responsibility pressed down upon them with crushing force. As the Conclave's leader continued to speak, Lawrence and Bell prepared themselves for the dangerous game of diplomacy and deception that lay ahead. They knew that somewhere within the vast Axiom Citadel, ancient precursor secrets awaited, secrets that could tip the balance of power in ways they could scarcely imagine. The negotiation was about to begin, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The negotiation was about to begin, and the stakes couldn't be. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light engulfed the chamber. Lawrence felt a violent tugging sensation, as if his very atoms were being pulled apart. He reached out instinctively, grasping Bell's hand as the world around them dissolved into a swirling vortex of energy. In a heartbeat, the oppressive atmosphere of the Axiom Citadel vanished. Lawrence blinked rapidly, his enhanced senses struggling to adjust to the abrupt change in surroundings. As his vision cleared, he found himself floating in space. The familiar constellations of the Sealy system spread out before him. What just happened? Captain Thorne's voice crackled through the comm system, a mix of confusion and alarm evident in his tone. Before Lawrence could respond, he felt a gentle nudge against his consciousness. The energy being that had transported them was still present, its vast intelligence brushing against their minds like gossamer threads. "It saved us," Bell said, her voice filled with awe. "It recognized the danger and brought us back to Sealy." Lawrence nodded, his hybrid body tingling with residual energy. "We need to disperse its excess energy before it destabilizes," he communicated to Bell through their mental link. Working in tandem, Lawrence and Bell extended their newfound abilities, guiding the energy being to release its power harmlessly into the surrounding space. Brilliant auroras danced around them, painting the void in vibrant hues of blue and green. As the last vestiges of energy dissipated, Captain Thorne's voice cut through their concentration. "Long-range scanners are picking up an uncharted planet in the system. And there's something else. Faint energy signatures, similar to what we encountered on the Citadel." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a meaningful glance. "Precursor technology," they said in unison. Without hesitation, the team boarded their shuttle and set a course for the mysterious planet. As they descended through the atmosphere, violent turbulence shook the craft. Lawrence placed his hand on the control panel, his hybrid physiology allowing him to interface directly with the shuttle systems. "There's an energy barrier surrounding the planet," he announced, his eyes glowing faintly as he processed the data. "I can create a resonance field to get us through safely." The shuttle shuddered as it pushed through the barrier, emerging into clear skies above a harsh, rocky landscape. Bell pointed to a massive structure jutting from the ground, partially buried beneath millennia of sediment. "There," she said. "That's our target." They landed near the entrance to the facility, the team quickly donning protective suits to shield themselves from the planet's inhospitable environment. As they approached the structure, Lawrence and Bell felt a familiar tug on their consciousness. "There's another energy being here," Bell whispered, her scales rippling with excitement. "But it feels dormant, weakened somehow." Using her shape-shifting abilities, Bell morphed her hand into a configuration that matched the facility's hidden locking mechanism. With a low rumble, a doorway materialized in the smooth surface of the structure. Inside, they found themselves in a vast chamber filled with pulsing, crystalline technology. Lawrence approached the central console, his fingers dancing over the alien interface as he accessed the facility's database. "This was a precursor outpost," he announced, his voice filled with wonder. "They were studying the energy beings, trying to harness their power for space travel and terraforming." Captain Thorne's voice interrupted their exploration. "We've got company. Multiple ships entering the system. Axiom signatures." Lawrence and Bell redoubled their efforts, delving deeper into the precursor database. As they absorbed the ancient knowledge, their bodies began to change. Lawrence's skin took on a soft, ethereal glow, while Bell's scales became fluid, almost liquid-like in appearance. The dormant energy being stirred, awakening in response to their presence. Its vast consciousness enveloped them, sharing the true purpose of the precursor network, a galaxy-spanning web of communication and instantaneous travel. Alarms blared through the facility as the Axiom forces breached the planet's atmosphere. Captain Thorne and his security team took up defensive positions, preparing for the impending assault. Lawrence and Bell stood at the heart of the facility. Their minds merged with the energy being and the ancient precursor systems. They faced an impossible choice: risk losing their individual identities to fully harness the power of the energy beings, or face certain defeat at the hands of the Axiom Imperium. As the first wave of Axiom troops breached the outer defenses, Lawrence met Bell's gaze. No words were necessary. They had come too far to turn back now. Hand in hand, they stepped into the swirling vortex of energy at the center of the chamber, embracing their destiny and the power that came with it. The hope of the universe hung in the balance as the battle for the precursor facility raged on, with Lawrence and Bell at the eye of the storm. Storm. The facility's walls vibrated with the raw energy coursing through the chamber, casting eerie shadows across the faces of Captain Thorne and his team. Lawrence and Bell locked eyes one final time, their decision made. They stepped forward, hands clasped tightly, and allowed the swirling vortex to envelop them. The moment their bodies touched the energy field, a blinding flash erupted, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. Captain Thorne squinted, trying to maintain visual contact with Lawrence and Bell. Through the brilliant light, he saw their forms begin to change. Lawrence's skin took on an otherworldly glow, pulsing with rhythm like a star. Bell's scales liquefied, flowing and reforming in mesmerizing patterns. As their bodies transformed, their minds expanded. Lawrence felt his consciousness stretching, intertwining with Bell's and the ancient energy being. Countless eons of knowledge flooded into them, threatening to overwhelm their sense of self. Bell's voice echoed in Lawrence's mind, anchoring him. "Stay with me. We can do this together." Their shared consciousness reached out, interfacing with the precursor technology surrounding them. Dormant systems hummed to life, responding to their touch. The facility's crystals pulsed with renewed vigor, bathing the chamber in a soft, blue glow. Outside, the battle raged on. Captain Thorne's calm crackled to life, the voice of his second-in-command filled with urgency. "Sir, the Axiom forces have breached the outer defenses. We can't hold them much longer." Thorne gritted his teeth, his finger tightening on the trigger of his weapon. "Fall back to the central chamber. We make our stand here." The security team retreated, taking up defensive positions around the pulsing energy vortex. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor, growing louder with each passing second. Suddenly, the massive doors to the chamber burst open. A towering figure strode through the debris, flanked by a squad of elite guards. Supreme Overlord Zaxos had arrived. The Axiom leader's eyes widened as he took in the scene before him, his gaze fixed on the transformed figures of Lawrence and Bell, floating at the center of the swirling energy. "Impossible," Zaxos breathed, a mixture of awe and greed in his voice. In that moment, Lawrence and Bell's merged consciousness made a monumental discovery. The energy beings were not just a means of transportation, but the key to terraforming planets and creating sustainable ecosystems. The implications were staggering. As this realization washed over them, the facility trembled. Space-time began to warp around them, the beginnings of a wormhole taking shape. Zaxos, recognizing the power about to slip from his grasp, raised his weapon. "Stop them!" he roared, firing a burst of energy directly at the merged entity. The attack never reached its target. An invisible shield deflected the blast, sending it careening back toward the Axiom forces. The resulting explosion rocked the chamber, causing ancient technology to crash down around them. Captain Thorne and his team scrambled for cover as chunks of debris rained down. "Lawrence, Bell, whatever you're doing, do it fast." Thorne shouted over the chaos. The merged entity poured more power into the forming wormhole, but the strain was evident. Lawrence and Bell's hybrid bodies began to flicker, their energy signature becoming unstable. Through their expanded consciousness, they detected a signal from the Sealy system. Admiral Zara and High Commander Vex had mobilized a rescue fleet, but they were engaged in a fierce battle with Axiom reinforcements. "We need to complete the transit." Bell's thoughts intertwined with Lawrence's. "We can't hold this form much longer." With a final surge of power, they activated the wormhole. A blinding light engulfed the entire facility. Captain Thorne felt a violent lurching sensation, as if reality itself was being torn apart. When the light faded, the barren landscape outside the facility had vanished. In its place was a lush, alien world orbiting a binary star system. The wormhole transit was complete, but at a cost. Lawrence and Bell's merged forms separated, their bodies falling limply to the floor. Captain Thorne rushed to their side, checking for signs of life. "They're breathing," he announced, relief evident in his voice. As Lawrence and Bell slowly regained consciousness, they became aware of the changes to their bodies. Their hybrid nature had stabilized, granting them permanent access to some of the energy being's abilities. The sound of pounding echoed through the facility. Supreme Overlord Zaxos and a handful of his guards had survived the transit, trapped in a sealed section of the structure. "Captain," one of Thorne's team called out, "long-range communications are down. I can't reach the Admiral or High Commander." Lawrence pushed himself to his feet, his body still tingling with residual energy. "We may be too far from known space for our signals to reach them." Bell joined him, her scales shimmering with newfound power. "We need to secure the facility and assess our situation. There's no telling what other surprises this planet might hold." As they began to explore their new surroundings, Lawrence and Bell exchanged a look of shared understanding. Their bond had been forged anew in the crucible of their merge, deeper and more profound than ever before. The binary stars cast an otherworldly glow across the alien landscape, illuminating the path ahead. Whatever challenges awaited them on this new world, they would face them together. Together. The facility stood as a beacon of possibility in this alien landscape, its secrets waiting to be unraveled. As Lawrence and Bell took their first steps on the verdant terrain, their bodies suddenly wavered. The strain of their recent ordeal caught up with them, causing them to stumble. Captain Thorne rushed to support them, concern etched on his face. "We need to find a way to stabilize your condition," Thorne said, his eyes scanning the relocated facility. Bell nodded weakly, her scales dulling. "There must be something in this place that can help us. The precursors were advanced beyond our comprehension." Lawrence closed his eyes, reaching out with his heightened senses. A faint energy signature pulsed from deep within the structure, calling to him. "This way," he murmured, leading the group through winding corridors. They arrived at a sealed chamber, its surface smooth and featureless. Lawrence placed his hand on the wall, and it shimmered beneath his touch. With a soft hiss, a hidden door slid open, revealing a room filled with pulsating crystals and sleek, alien machinery. As they entered, the chamber sprang to life. Holographic displays flickered into existence, and a beam of light swept over Lawrence and Bell. A melodic hum filled the air as the precursor medical technology assessed their hybrid physiology. "It's some kind of medical bay," Lawrence explained, his voice tinged with awe, "and it recognizes our altered DNA." Two reclined pods emerged from the floor, their surfaces rippling like liquid metal. Bell and Lawrence exchanged a glance before stepping into the pods. As they lay back, the material conformed to their bodies, enveloping them in a cocoon of soft light. Captain Thorne watched as the pods pulsed with energy. "I'll secure the perimeter with my team. You two focus on recovering." As Thorne left, Lawrence and Bell felt a warm sensation spread through their bodies. The advanced healing process began, not only repairing the damage from their merge, but also fine-tuning their hybrid abilities. Hours passed as the medical system worked its marvels. When the pods finally opened, Lawrence and Bell emerged transformed. Lawrence's skin glowed with an inner light, while Bell's scales shimmered with newfound vibrancy. They tested their enhanced abilities, marveling at the changes. Lawrence's fingers danced over a nearby console, interfacing with the precursor technology as if it were an extension of his own body. Belle shifted her form with unprecedented precision, mimicking complex structures with ease. Their heightened connection to the energy beings manifested as a new awareness. They sensed the facility around them, perceiving the flow of energy through its systems. Beyond that, they felt the tendrils of a vast network stretching across the stars. "It's incredible," Belle breathed. "I can feel the other outposts, like beacons in the dark." Their exploration was interrupted by Captain Thorne's return. "You need to see this," he said urgently, leading them to another chamber. Inside, they found a holographic map of surrounding star systems floating in the air. Lawrence manipulated the display, zooming out to reveal their position relative to known space. "We're at the heart of the precursor network," he realized, his eyes wide. "This could be the key to understanding everything." As they studied the map, Lawrence's enhanced senses picked up a disturbance. He turned his attention to the facility's systems, interfacing directly with its core. "Something's activating," he warned. "A defense system." Before they could react, a massive energy shield sprang to life, enveloping the facility and the surrounding area. The sudden surge of power sent tremors through the ground. Belle's heightened awareness detected movement from a sealed section of the facility. "Zaxos," she hissed. "He's trying to break free." Captain Thorne's calm crackled to life. "Sir, we're detecting unusual seismic activity. The planet's becoming unstable." Lawrence and Belle exchanged a determined look. They had to act fast to secure the facility, contain Zaxos, and stabilize the planet. With their enhanced abilities, they reached out to the precursor systems, ready to face the challenges ahead. As they worked to gain control of the facility's defenses, Lawrence detected an outgoing transmission. The clock was ticking. They had to secure their position before Axiom reinforcements could discover their location. But as they raced against time, the planet itself posed an even greater threat. The ground shook violently, and alarms blared throughout the facility. The energy shield was affecting the planet's geological stability, threatening to tear their newfound haven apart. Lawrence interfaced with the planet's core, his palms sweating from the influx of data. "The shield is interacting with the planet's magnetic field. We need to modulate the frequency or risk a total collapse." Belle joined him, their hybrid abilities working in tandem. As they fought to stabilize the core, a new system sprang to life around them. The ancient precursor terraforming technology activated, responding to the planet's distress. "It's trying to optimize the environment," Belle realized. But for what? As the terraforming process began to alter the atmosphere and landscape, Lawrence and Belle found themselves at the center of a perfect storm of crises. They had to secure the facility, stop Zaxos, stabilize the planet, and control the terraforming process, all while preventing the Axiom Imperium from discovering their location. Their hybrid bodies hummed with power as they prepared to face these converging threats. The fate of the Precursor Legacy, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on their ability to master their newfound powers and work as one. With a shared look of dedication, Lawrence and Belle plunged into the heart of the Precursor systems, ready to fight for their future and unravel the mysteries of their past. The challenges ahead were daunting, but together, they were prepared to face whatever the cosmos might throw their way. As Lawrence and Belle plunged into the heart of the Precursor systems, a faint energy signature pulsed from deep within the facility, calling to them. Following their heightened senses, they navigated through winding corridors until they reached a seamless wall that shimmered beneath Lawrence's touch. A hidden door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a chamber filled with pulsating crystals and sleek, alien machinery. At the center stood a massive luminescent crystal, its surface rippling with waves of energy that seemed to beckon them closer. "This must be the central node of the energy being network," Lawrence breathed, his eyes wide with awe. Belle nodded, her scales reflecting the crystal's pulsating light. It's responding to our hybrid biology. Can you feel it? As they approached, the crystal's glow intensified, creating a resonance that amplified their connection to the precursor systems. Lawrence and Bell exchanged a look of understanding, recognizing the potential of their discovery. We might be able to use this to stabilize the planet's core and gain control over the facility's defenses, Lawrence suggested, his fingers already dancing over a nearby console. Bell's form shimmered as she prepared herself. It's worth a try. We're running out of options. They stepped forward in unison, their bodies glowing with energy as they made contact with the crystal's surface. The moment their hands touched the smooth, cool surface, a surge of power coursed through them. Lawrence and Bell gasped in unison, their senses overwhelmed by the influx of information and energy. For a moment, the world around them dissolved into pure light and sensation. When their vision cleared, they found themselves changed. Lawrence's control over the facility's systems had reached unprecedented levels of precision. He could feel every circuit, every power conduit, as if they were extensions of his own nervous system. Bell's shape-shifting abilities had expanded beyond her wildest dreams. She could sense the planet's terraforming process and, with a mere thought, guide the changes to maintain a habitable environment. Their moment of wonder was cut short by Captain Thorne's urgent voice over the comm. "Lawrence, Bell, we're detecting unusual energy readings from Zaxos' section. He's up to something." Lawrence's enhanced senses immediately picked up on the disturbance. "He's tapped into a secondary power source. We need to lock him down now." With a thought, Lawrence initiated a facility-wide lockdown, sealing off Zaxos' section more completely. However, the action triggered an unexpected failsafe within the precursor systems. Alarms blared as the facility began a full data purge. "No!" Bell cried out, her body already shifting. Part of her arm transformed into a compatible interface, allowing her to plug directly into the facility's mainframe. Her consciousness raced through the complex precursor code, fighting to halt the data purge. As Bell worked to save the facility's data, she uncovered startling information. "Lawrence, there's a network of dormant energy being spread throughout the galaxy. They're waiting to be awakened." Before Lawrence could respond, the ground beneath them shook violently. The planet's terraforming process had accelerated beyond their control, causing rapid and potentially catastrophic changes to the atmosphere and landscape. Lawrence gritted his teeth, diverting his attention to stabilizing the environment. He drew upon the crystal's power, using it to modulate the terraforming energy. But the split focus left the facility's defenses vulnerable. Captain Thorne's voice crackled over the comm once more, filled with urgency. "Zaxos has broken through. We're engaged in heavy fire." The transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by the sound of distant weapons fire. Lawrence and Bell knew they were running out of time. "We need to do something drastic," Lawrence said, his eyes meeting Bell's. "We have to attempt a full merge with the crystal." Bell's eyes widened, but that could mean losing ourselves entirely. "It's a risk we have to take," Lawrence replied, his voice resolute. As the sounds of battle drew nearer, Lawrence and Bell positioned themselves on either side of the crystal. They placed their hands on its surface, feeling the energy pulsing beneath their palms. "Ready?" Lawrence asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Bell nodded, her form already beginning to shimmer. Together, they closed their eyes and opened themselves fully to the crystal's power. Their bodies began to dissolve, transforming into pure energy that melded with the crystal structure. As they merged, flashes of precursor memories flooded their consciousness, glimpses of ancient civilizations, cosmic wonders, and a vast network connecting energy beings across the galaxy. The merge reached its critical point, and a shockwave of energy pulsed out from the crystal. It swept through the facility, neutralizing Zaxos' weapons and halting the terraforming process. The planet's core stabilized, its violent tremor subsiding. But the energy wave had triggered something else, a long-dormant precursor protocol. The facility hummed with newfound power as it initiated a relocation sequence. Captain Thorne and his team, along with the subdued Zaxos and his guards, found themselves enveloped in a protective energy field. The entire facility began to phase out of normal space-time, preparing for transit through the energy being network. As the facility disappeared from the planet's surface, Lawrence and Bell existed as a hybrid energy form within the crystal. Their individual consciousnesses remained intact, but they were now intrinsically linked to the precursor network. From this new state of being, they perceived a vast tapestry of information and energy stretched across the cosmos. The facility rematerialized in a new star system, one that pulsed with significance in the energy being network. Lawrence and Bell, still merged with the crystal, sensed the weight of their actions. They had set in motion events that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. As they worked to disentangle themselves from the crystal and regain physical form, Lawrence and Bell knew that their journey was nowhere near the end. The hybrid abilities they now possessed were both a gift and a responsibility. They would need to master these new powers quickly, for somewhere in the vast expanse of space, an unknown threat loomed, one that only their unique nature might be able to confront. Lawrence and Bell's consciousness began to disentangle from the crystal, their energy forms coalescing into physical shapes. The process sent shockwaves of power surging through the facility systems, causing lights to flicker and consoles to spark. As they regained corporeal form, Lawrence gasped, his newly solidified lungs filling with air. He looked down at his hands, noticing the subtle metallic sheen that now covered his skin. Beside him, Bell's scales shimmered with a crystalline quality, refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. "We've changed," Bell observed, her voice filled with wonder as she examined her transformed body. Lawrence nodded, feeling the enhanced connection to the precursor technology around them. "Our hybrid nature has evolved. I can sense every system in the facility with unprecedented clarity." Their moment of discovery was interrupted by Captain Thorne's urgent voice. "Lawrence, Bell, we need you in the control room. We've secured Zaxos, but we're facing some critical issues." They made their way through the corridors, the facility systems responding to their mere presence. In the control room, they found Thorne and his team working feverishly at various consoles. "The relocation has taken its toll," Thorne explained, gesturing to a holographic display of the facility systems. "Life support and power generation are becoming unstable." Lawrence immediately interfaced with the nearest console, his technopathic abilities allowing him to communicate directly with the precursor computers. Data flowed through his mind at an incredible rate as he assessed the damage. "Bell, I need you to focus on the hardware," he said, his eyes glowing with streams of information. "Use your shape-shifting to bypass the faulty components." Bell nodded, her body already morphing. She stretched her arm, transforming it into a complex array of circuits and conduits that seamlessly integrated with the damaged systems. The strain was evident on her face as she pushed her new abilities to their limits. As they worked to stabilize the facility, Lawrence activated the long-range scanners. A holographic map of their new location materialized, revealing a cluster of habitable planets orbiting a binary star system. "Look at this," he called out, zooming in on one particular world. "Vast oceans, scattered archipelagos. It matches precursor descriptions of their homeworld." Bell, still partially merged with the facility's systems, focused her attention on the planet. "I'm detecting energy signatures on the surface. They match the frequency of dormant energy beings." A sudden tremor shook the facility, nearly knocking them off their feet. Alarms blared as new warnings flashed across the screens. "The planet's magnetic field is interfering with our systems," Thorne reported, his voice tense. "We've got gaps in our defensive perimeter." Lawrence gritted his teeth, focusing his enhanced abilities on recalibrating the facility's sensors and communication arrays. The task was monumental, requiring him to rewrite core protocols on the fly. Meanwhile, Bell discovered hidden subroutines in the facility's programming as she repaired the hardware. "Lawrence, look at this," she called out, projecting a complex series of algorithms into the air. "It's a protocol for awakening dormant energy beings." Lawrence studied the projection, his mind racing. "It requires a stable link between two hybrid entities to modulate the power. We might be the key to activating the entire network." Their discussion was cut short as a new alert sounded. The facility's sensors had detected an incoming wormhole signature, bearing a striking resemblance to Axiom Imperium technology. "Zaxos' distress call," Thorne muttered. "They must have picked up the partial transmission." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a look of willpower. "We need to act fast," Lawrence said. "Captain, mobilize your team. Use the fabrication units to produce weapons based on precursor designs. We'll need every advantage we can get." As Thorne's team sprang into action, Lawrence and Bell made their way to a specially designed chamber at the heart of the facility. The room hummed with latent energy, its walls covered in intricate, glowing patterns. "Are you ready for this?" Lawrence asked, taking Bell's hand. "We'll have to merge our consciousnesses more deeply than ever before." Bell squeezed his hand, her scales shimmering. "Whatever it takes, we're in this together." They stepped into the center of the chamber, their bodies beginning to glow with intense energy. As they joined hands, the facility responded, enveloping them in a cocoon of swirling energy patterns. Lawrence felt his mind expanding, merging with Bell's consciousness and reaching out to the dormant energy beings on the planet below. Flashes of ancient memories flooded his awareness. Glimpses of a vast precursor civilization at its height and the cataclysmic events that led to its downfall. Bell gasped as the knowledge flowed through her. The galactic threat. It's a cosmic anomaly, something that could unravel the very fabric of space-time. Their merged consciousness sent pulses of energy through the planet's crust, activating long-dormant precursor installations. Massive structures began to rise from the oceans, revealing hidden cities and technological marvels. The awakening reached a critical point, and a shockwave of energy burst from the planet's surface. It expanded rapidly, engulfing the star system and beyond. Lawrence and Bell, still merged in the heart of the facility, became the focal point for this immense power. As the energy wave spread across the galaxy, it triggered dormant precursor beacons. A signal penetrated the farthest reaches of known space, broadcasting the location of the facility and the awakened energy being network. In the chamber, Lawrence and Bell's physical forms began to stabilize, the glow of energy subsiding. They stood, hands still clasped, as the weight of their actions settled upon them. They had set in motion events that would reshape the balance of power throughout known space. "It's done," Lawrence said, his voice filled with awe and trepidation. Bell nodded, her eyes reflecting the enormity of what they had accomplished. "And now, we face what comes next." As if in response to her words, the facility's alarms blared once more. The incoming wormhole signature had intensified, heralding the imminent arrival of unknown forces. Lawrence and Bell steeled themselves, ready to face whatever emerged from the depths of space. The cosmos. The wormhole signature grew stronger, its energy distorting the fabric of space-time around the facility. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light engulfed Lawrence and Bell, their merged consciousness separating with a jolt. They found themselves back in their physical forms, standing in the heart of the precursor facility. The residual energy from the awakening process coursed through their bodies, leaving them breathless and tingling. Lawrence flexed his fingers, marveling at the newfound sensitivity in his technopathic abilities. "That was intense," he managed, his voice rough. Bell nodded, her scales shimmering with an iridescent glow. "I feel different, stronger, somehow." Before they could fully process the changes, Captain Thorne burst into the chamber, his face etched with urgency. "Lawrence, Bell, we've got multiple incoming ships. The long-range sensors are lighting up like a Christmas tree." Lawrence immediately interfaced with the facility's systems, his mind expanding to encompass the vast network of sensors and defensive arrays. "I see them," he said, his eyes glowing with streams of data. "Multiple fleets approaching from different vectors. I'm detecting Axiom Imperium signatures, but there are others I don't recognize." Bell morphed her arm into a complex interface, connecting directly with the communication array. "I'm picking up transmissions from a Sealy Human Coalition fleet," she reported. "They're hailing us." As Lawrence worked to bring the facility's defenses online, Bell established a connection with the Coalition ships. Admiral Zara's holographic form materialized before them, her expression a mixture of relief and concern. "Thank the stars you're alive," Zara said. "We've been searching for you since your disappearance. The galaxy's been in chaos. The Axiom Imperium has been on a rampage, conquering system after system. We're barely holding them back." Lawrence's concentration was momentarily broken by a proximity alert. "We've got a problem," he announced. "A small ship just breached our outer defenses. It's using technology I've never seen before." They watched as the sleek vessel landed on a nearby platform. Its hull shimmered and parted, revealing a striking alien figure. The newcomer strode towards the facility with purpose, her iridescent skin and flowing, tentacle-like hair marking her as a species unknown to them. "I am Empress Zyla of the Zephyrian Empire," she announced as she entered the chamber. "We've been watching this conflict from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to intervene. Your awakening of the precursor network has forced our hand." Bell tensed, ready to defend against a potential threat, but Zyla raised her hands in a gesture of peace. "I come offering an alliance," she continued. "My people have unlocked secrets of precursor technology that could turn the tide against the Axiom Imperium. In exchange for access to this facility and the Energy Being Network, we offer our full support and resources." Before Lawrence or Bell could respond, the facility's alarms blared. A massive Axiom dreadnought had entered the system, leading a fleet that dwarfed the Coalition forces. "We need to make a decision fast," Lawrence said, his mind racing through tactical simulations. "The Axiom fleet outguns us significantly." Bell nodded, her form shifting as she interfaced with multiple systems simultaneously. "I'm bringing the precursor defenses online, but even with them, we're outnumbered." Captain Thorne's voice crackled over the comms. "Supreme Overlord Zaxos is demanding to be released. He's threatening to destroy the entire planet if we don't comply." As Lawrence and Bell grappled with their options, the crystal at the center of the chamber began to pulse erratically. Energy arced between its facets, creating a dazzling light show. "Something's happening," Bell said, her eyes wide. She stretched out a tendril of her shape-shifted form, connecting with the crystal. "It's reconfiguring the facility. I think we've triggered some kind of hidden protocol." Lawrence felt the change through his technopathic link, the entire facility humming with newfound power. "Whatever it's doing, it's tapping into energy sources I didn't even know existed." Empress Zyla stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the pulsing crystal. "This is why we need to work together. The power you've awakened could reshape the galaxy, but only if we can harness it properly." As they stood at this crossroads of cosmic significance, the ground beneath them trembled. The energy beings awakening beneath the planet's surface were stirring, their consciousness rippling through the facility's systems. Lawrence met Bell's gaze, seeing his own mix of willpower and uncertainty reflected in her eyes. They had unleashed forces beyond their comprehension, and now they stood at the epicenter of a galactic storm. Their next move would shape the fate of civilizations. "We need to decide," Lawrence said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Do we trust Zyla and accept her alliance? How do we use the network and these defenses against the Axiom fleet? Bell nodded, her form solidifying as she prepared for action. Whatever we choose, we do it together. As the Axiom dreadnought loomed ever closer, its weapons charging for the first salvo, Lawrence and Bell steeled themselves for the battle ahead. The hope of the universe hung in the balance, and they were the linchpin upon which everything would turn. The fate of countless civilizations hung in the balance as Lawrence and Bell faced the most critical decision of their lives. Lawrence's eyes met Bell's, a silent understanding passing between them. With a nod, he turned to Empress Zyla. "We accept your offer of alliance," he said, his voice firm. "We need all the help we can get against the Axiom forces." Zyla's iridescent skin shimmered with what seemed to be relief. "A wise choice. Let us waste no time." Lawrence extended his hand, his technopathic abilities flowing through his fingertips as he interfaced with the facility's systems. He granted Zyla limited access to the defensive arrays, allowing her to coordinate with the Coalition fleet. "Admiral Zara," Bell called out to the holographic figure, "we're integrating Zephyrian support into our defensive strategy. Prepare your ships for coordinated action." As Zara's image flickered with acknowledgement, Bell turned her attention to the pulsating crystal at the heart of the chamber. Her body began to shift, tendrils of her form extending towards the glowing structure. As she made contact, a surge of energy coursed through her. "Lawrence," she gasped, her voice strained. "The crystal. It's reconfiguring the entire facility. I think it's trying to create some kind of massive energy projection device." Lawrence's mind raced as he processed the information flowing through the facility's systems. "If we can complete that reconfiguration, we might be able to repel the Axiom fleet and stabilize the awakening energy beings." Outside, the battle had begun in earnest. The void of space lit up with weapons fire as Coalition and Zephyrian ships engaged the approaching Axiom fleet. Lawrence worked feverishly, his enhanced abilities pushing hidden defenses into action. Massive energy cannons rose from the planet's oceans, their barrels aimed at the looming Axiom dreadnought. Bell's form had now partially merged with the crystal, her body glowing with intense energy as she guided the reconfiguration process. The strain on her hybrid physiology was evident, her features contorted with effort as she channeled the power of the awakening energy beings into the forming projection device. A violent tremor shook the facility, nearly knocking Lawrence off his feet. Lawrence's fingers flew over holographic interfaces, redirecting power to internal defenses. "I'm sealing off critical areas and activating security protocols. Hold them off as long as you can, Captain." Through the facility's sensors, Lawrence watched as Thorne's team clashed with the Axiom intruders. To his surprise, he noticed Sergeant Kira moving with inhuman speed and strength, her reflexes far beyond normal human capabilities. In space, the battle raged on. Admiral Zar's flagship took a direct hit, its shields flickering dangerously. Before the Axiom forces could press their advantage, Empress Zyla's ship swooped in, its advanced weapons tearing through the enemy formation. Lawrence's attention was suddenly drawn to an anomalous energy reading from the Axiom dreadnought. His eyes widened as he realized the implications. "Bell," he called out, his voice urgent. "The dreadnought. It's powered by a captive energy being, like the one we saw on the Citadel." Bell's response was strained, her concentration split between the crystal and Lawrence's words. "If we could free it somehow." "It might cripple their flagship," Lawrence finished. His mind raced through possibilities, formulating a plan. A new alert flashed across his interface. The crystal's reconfiguration was nearing completion. Bell's body now pulsed with blinding energy, her form barely distinguishable from the crystal itself. "Lawrence," she managed, her voice echoing with power. "It's ready. I'm activating the projection device now." With a gesture from Bell, a massive beam of energy erupted from the facility. It engulfed the planet in a shimmering field that extended into space, washing over friend and foe alike. The effect was immediate and unexpected. Colossal forms of pure energy began to rise from the planet's oceans, the awakened energy beings, drawn to the power emanating from the facility. As they moved towards a space battle, both Axiom and Coalition ships experienced widespread system failures. Lawrence reached out with his hybrid abilities, attempting to communicate with these ancient entities. He felt their collective consciousness brush against his mind, driven by an age-old directive to protect precursor technology. Suddenly, Bell's voice cut through his concentration, filled with alarm. "Lawrence, the planet's core. It's destabilizing. The energy field and the awakened beings. It's too much." Lawrence's heart raced as he processed the information flooding his senses. They had moments to act before the chain reaction tore the planet apart. With the Axiom fleet still bearing down on them, the energy beings rising from the depths and the planet itself on the brink of destruction, Lawrence and Bell faced their greatest challenge yet. As alarms blared and the facility shook around them, Lawrence locked eyes with Bell, her form still merged with the pulsing crystal. They had unleashed forces beyond imagination, and now they had to find a way to control them, or watch as everything they fought for crumbled into cosmic dust. Dust. Time seemed to slow as Lawrence and Bell locked eyes, their minds racing in unison. The facility trembled around them, a stark reminder of the impending catastrophe. "The planet's core," Lawrence breathed, his technopathic senses flooding with data. "We need to stabilize it." Bell, still merged with the pulsating crystal, nodded. Her voice echoed with an otherworldly resonance. "I have an idea, but it's risky." Without hesitation, Lawrence stepped closer to her. "Whatever it is, we're in this together." Bell's form shimmered, energy coursing through her. "Our hybrid nature. We can use it. We'll channel the excess energy from the core through our bodies and redirect it to the precursor defenses." Lawrence's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. It was dangerous, potentially fatal, but it was their only chance. He reached out, placing his hand on the crystal next to Bell's translucent form. The moment they connected, a surge of power unlike anything they'd ever experienced flowed through them. Lawrence gasped as tendrils of energy spread across his skin, forming intricate, glowing patterns. Bell's scales began to refract light, creating a mesmerizing display. Their transformation accelerated. Lawrence's skin took on a metallic sheen, absorbing and redirecting energy with every pulse. Bell's entire body became translucent, her inner light pulsing in rhythm with the planet's core. As they channeled the immense power, their minds merged on a deeper level than ever before. Thoughts, sensations, and emotions flowed freely between them. In this moment of crisis, their bond transcended the physical, becoming something truly extraordinary. Outside, the colossal energy beings rising from the oceans responded to their stabilizing influence. Lawrence, maintaining his mental link, guided them into a protective formation around the planet. The living shield of pure energy deflected the Axiom fleet's attacks, buying them precious time. In the midst of their shared consciousness, Bell's voice echoed. "Lawrence, the Axiom dreadnought. There's an energy being trapped inside it." Lawrence focused his attention on the massive ship. Through their enhanced senses, they could feel the captive being struggle. "If we could free it." Their thoughts were interrupted by a commotion near the chamber's entrance. Captain Thorne burst in, supporting a wounded alien figure. "Empress Xyla's ship was hit," he reported, helping the Zephyrian leader to a nearby console. "She had to abandon it." Xyla's iridescent skin was marred with burns, but her eyes widened as she took in Lawrence and Bell's transformed state. "By the eternal stars," she breathed. "You've done it. You've truly merged with the precursor technology." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Captain Thorne's communicator crackled to life. "Sir, Zaxos has escaped containment. He's headed your way." Lawrence and Bell shared a moment of panic through their link, but they couldn't break their connection to the crystal. The planet's stability depended on them. Sergeant Kira's voice came over the comm. "I'm in pursuit. I'll stop him." As if in response to the new threat, Lawrence and Bell's hybrid transformation intensified. Their bodies hummed with power, the intimate connection between them growing stronger with each passing second. The crystal pulsed in sync with their heartbeats, the entire facility responding to their merged consciousness. In space, Admiral Zara's voice cut through the chaos. "Coalition ships form up. We're making our push against the dreadnought." Empress Zyla, recovering her composure, stepped forward. "Wait, I have information that could help. There's a specific frequency that can disrupt their containment field. If you target it, you might be able to free the captive energy being." As Zyla relayed the details to Admiral Zara, Lawrence and Bell focused their combined will on maintaining the planet's stability. Through their shared senses, they felt every tremor, every surge of power coursing through the core. Their bodies moved in perfect synchronization, redirecting the energy flow with increasing precision. The intimacy of their merged state was overwhelming. Every touch, every shared thought was magnified tenfold. Despite the chaos surrounding them, moments of profound closeness passed between them, their hybrid bodies pulsing with shared energy and desire. Suddenly, the facility shook violently. The sounds of combat echoed through the corridors, growing closer by the second. Sergeant Kira's voice, strained with effort, came over the comm. "I've engaged Zaxos. He's stronger than before." Lawrence and Bell could only watch helplessly as the battle between Kira and Zaxos spilled into the central chamber. Kira moved with inhuman speed and agility, her prolonged exposure to the facility's energy field having enhanced her abilities. Zaxos, driven by desperation and rage, matched her blow for blow. As the fight raged around them, Lawrence and Bell maintained their focus on the crystal and the planet's core. Through their shared consciousness, they felt the moment Admiral Zara's ships launched their attack on the Axiom dreadnought. The targeted frequency disrupted the containment field, and the captive energy being within began to break free. The release of the energy being sent shockwaves through space. Lawrence and Bell guided it towards a protective barrier around the planet, where it joined its brethren. The sudden loss of its power source left the Axiom dreadnought vulnerable, and the combined coalition and Zephyrian forces seized their opportunity. In the chamber, Kira finally gained the upper hand against Zaxos. With a well-timed strike, she sent the Axiom leader crashing to the ground unconscious. As the immediate threat subsided, Lawrence and Bell began the delicate process of disconnecting from the crystal. The energy flow gradually diminished, but the changes to their hybrid physiology remained. Their bodies, now perfectly attuned to their dual heritage and the precursor technology, hummed with residual power. Exhausted but triumphant, they embraced, their new forms fitting together as if they were two halves of a whole. The battle was won, but as they looked at each other, they knew their journey was far from finished. The awakened energy beings, the revealed precursor technology, and their own evolved states presented new challenges and opportunities. As the facility's system stabilized and the sounds of celebration filtered in from the coalition ships, Lawrence and Bell stood together, ready to face whatever the future might hold. Their bond, stronger than ever, would be their guide in the uncharted territory that lay ahead. Ahead, their hybrid forms, still pulsing with residual energy, began to change in unexpected ways. Lawrence gasped as he felt a surge of power coursing through his veins. He raised his hand, watching in awe as tendrils of energy danced between his fingers. With a thought, he focused the energy into a shimmering barrier that enveloped him and Bell. "Incredible," he breathed, flexing his fingers as the barrier dissipated. Bell's eyes widened as her own transformation took hold. Her skin rippled, taking on the metallic sheen of the facility's walls before shifting to a crystalline structure reminiscent of the precursor technology. "Lawrence, look!" she exclaimed, her voice filled with wonder. Before they could fully process their new abilities, the facility's systems hummed to life. A holographic projection materialized in the center of the chamber, revealing an imposing alien figure. "Greetings, inhabitants of this facility," the figure intoned, its voice reverberating through the room. "I am High Arbiter Zorn of the Galactic Conclave." Lawrence and Bell exchanged glances, their enhanced senses picking up on the subtle energy signature emanating from the hologram. High Arbiter Zorn continued, "The recent events surrounding the precursor technology have drawn our attention. A formal hearing will be held to determine the rightful custodians of this legacy and to address the actions of the Axiom Imperium." The announcement sent a ripple of tension through the assembled leaders. Admiral Zara stepped forward, her voice steady. "We will prepare our case for the Conclave, High Arbiter." As the projection faded, the chamber erupted into a flurry of activity. Empress Zyla, her injuries now treated, approached Lawrence and Bell. "Your transformation." "It's remarkable," she said, her iridescent eyes studying them intently. "We'll need your unique connection to the precursor technology for our case." Lawrence nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "We'll do whatever we can to help." Captain Thorne's voice cut through the commotion. "We need to secure Zaxos for the trial. Sergeant Kira with me." As the others prepared for the hearing, Lawrence and Bell found themselves drawn to the awakened energy beings. Using their newfound abilities, they established a mental link with the colossal entities. The connection was overwhelming at first, a torrent of ancient memories and cosmic awareness flooding their minds. Lawrence gritted his teeth, focusing on maintaining the link. Beside him, Bell's form shimmered, unconsciously mimicking the energy patterns of the beings. Through the link, they learned of the energy beings' true nature. "They're guardians," Bell whispered, her voice filled with awe, "created by the precursors to protect their legacy." As they communicated with the guardians, Lawrence and Bell's bodies pulsed in unison, their hybrid physiologies resonating with the ancient entities. The intimacy of the connection sent waves of sensation through them, their already strong bond deepening further. Their shared consciousness expanded, revealing hidden chambers within the facility. One such chamber caught their attention, housing a device unlike anything they had seen before. "An evolution accelerator," Lawrence breathed, his enhanced mind quickly grasping its purpose. "This could help us understand our own transformation." As they studied the device, Dr. Lyra, a xenobiologist from the Coalition fleet, joined them. Her eyes lit up with scientific curiosity as she took in Lawrence and Bell's altered forms. "Fascinating," she murmured, her gaze lingering on Lawrence. "Your hybrid physiology is unlike anything I've ever encountered." Bell felt a twinge of unease at the doctor's obvious interest, but pushed it aside as alarms blared throughout the facility. They rushed to the control room, where Admiral Zara was studying a holographic display of the star system. "A massive fleet just entered the system," Zara reported, her brow furrowed. "They're not responding to our hails." The assembled leaders watched tensely as the unknown fleet came to a halt just outside the planet's defensive perimeter. A single ship broke formation, approaching the facility. "We're receiving a transmission," a technician announced. A new hologram materialized, revealing a regal alien figure. "I am Empress Nalara of the Ascendant Dominion," she declared, her voice carrying an air of authority. "I request permission to land and participate in the Galactic Conclave hearing. I possess crucial information about the precursors and their technology." Lawrence and Bell shared a look, their hybrid senses detecting an unusual energy signature from the Empress. It was similar to their own, suggesting abilities beyond those of ordinary beings. As Empress Nalara's ship docked with the facility, Lawrence and Bell were tasked with greeting her. They stood at the airlock, their bodies tense with anticipation. The door slid open, revealing Empress Nalara in all her glory. Her skin shimmered with an otherworldly iridescence, and her eyes held depths of knowledge that seemed to span millennia. "Welcome, Empress Nalara," Lawrence said, inclining his head respectfully. Nalara's gaze swept over them, a flicker of recognition passing through her eyes. "Ah," she said, her voice tinged with curiosity. "It seems the precursor's influence extends further than I anticipated." As they escorted the Empress to the main chamber, Lawrence and Bell could feel the shift in the facility's atmosphere. The arrival of this new player had altered the delicate balance of power, adding another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. With the galactic conclave hearing looming and tensions rising between the various factions, Lawrence and Bell found themselves at the center of a cosmic chess game. Their unique abilities and connection to the precursor technology made them key figures in the unfolding drama. As they entered the main chamber, where the leaders of the Coalition, the Zephyrian Empire, and now the Ascendant Dominion gathered, Lawrence and Bell steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. The fate of the precursor legacy and the balance of power in the galaxy hung in the balance, and they knew their actions in the coming days would shape the future of countless civilizations. As the leaders gathered to discuss the implications of Empress Nalara's arrival, Lawrence and Bell found themselves drawn back to the hidden precursor chamber. The evolution accelerator hummed with latent energy, beckoning them to unravel its secrets. Dr. Lyra joined them, her eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. "This device could hold the key to understanding your unique physiology," she said, running her hand along the smooth surface of the accelerator. Lawrence nodded, feeling a tingle of anticipation. "Let's set up some controlled experiments. We need to understand its capabilities before we even consider using it on ourselves." As they worked, Bell couldn't help but notice the way Dr. Lyra's gaze lingered on Lawrence. She pushed aside the twinge of jealousy, focusing instead on the task at hand. Hours passed as they carefully calibrated the device, taking readings and analyzing data. The air crackled with potential, each small success bringing them closer to unlocking the accelerator's full power. Suddenly, a warning light flashed on the control panel. "Energy surge detected," Dr. Lyra called out, her fingers flying over the display. "I can't contain it." Before they could react, a blinding wave of energy erupted from the accelerator, engulfing Lawrence and Bell. They cried out in unison, their bodies rigid as the power coursed through them. When the light faded, Lawrence stared in awe at his transformed skin. Intricate patterns of bioluminescence danced across his flesh, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. He turned to Bell, gasping at the sight of her scales, now a crystalline latticework that refracted light in dazzling arrays. "Incredible," Dr. Lyra breathed, her scientific detachment momentarily forgotten as she gazed at the couple. Lawrence flexed his fingers, feeling the energy flowing through him with newfound clarity. "Our senses, they're heightened. I can feel the facility's systems like never before." Bell nodded, her eyes wide. "And our control over energy, it's magnified tenfold." Before they could fully process their transformation, alarms blared throughout the facility. They rushed to the control room, their new forms drawing startled looks from the assembled leaders. Admiral Zara stood before a holographic display, her face grim. "The Ascendant Dominion fleet is moving into attack formation. They're not responding to hails." A transmission cut through the chaos, Empress Nalara's face filling the screen. "I demand immediate access to the precursor technology, particularly the evolution accelerator," she declared, her voice cold and imperious. "It is crucial for the survival of my species. Comply, or we will take it by force." The ultimatum hung in the air, tension thick as Coalition and Zephyrian ships scrambled to defensive positions. Suddenly, a massive ship materialized in the system, dwarfing even the Ascendant Dominion vessels. High Arbiter Zorn's voice boomed through the communication channels. This conflict ends now. A ceasefire is hereby enforced. A powerful energy field emanated from the Arbiter's ship, immobilizing all other vessels in the system. The standoff had been paused, but the underlying tensions remained. The Galactic Conclave hearing will commence immediately, High Arbiter Zorn announced. All factions will present their cases for custodianship of the precursor technology. As representatives gathered in the main chamber, Lawrence and Bell were called upon to demonstrate their connection to the precursor systems. They stepped forward, their newly enhanced bodies humming with energy. Closing their eyes, they reached out with their minds, interfacing seamlessly with the facility. The chamber came alive around them, walls shifting and reconfiguring as long-dormant systems awakened. Holographic representations of the galaxy filled the air, eliciting gasps of wonder from the assembled leaders. As Lawrence and Bell deepened their connection, they inadvertently triggered a hidden protocol. The facility shuddered, walls parting to reveal a previously concealed chamber. At its center stood a massive artifact, a sphere of swirling energy and intricate patterns. The Nexus Sphere, Empress Nalara breathed, her eyes wide with recognition. High Arbiter Zorn's voice cut through the awed silence. The fate of this artifact will be decided as part of the formal hearing. No one is to approach it. Empress Nalara took a step towards the sphere, her hand outstretched. Without thinking, Lawrence and Bell combined their abilities, creating a shimmering energy barrier around the artifact. The chamber erupted into chaos as accusations flew between the factions. High Arbiter Zorn called for order, but his words were drowned out by a new commotion. Supreme Overlord Zaxos, having broken free from his restraints, burst into the chamber. His eyes locked onto the Nexus Sphere, a manic grin spreading across his face. "At last!" he roared, charging towards the artifact. Captain Thorne and Sergeant Kira leapt into action, engaging Zaxos in a fierce battle. The fight spilled out into the corridors, the sounds of combat echoing through the facility. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Lyra approached Lawrence and Bell, her eyes shining with excitement. "I've made a breakthrough," she said breathlessly. "Your enhanced abilities are a result of your DNA resonating with specific frequencies emitted by the precursor technology. If you fully synchronize with the Nexus Sphere, there's no telling what you might be capable of." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a look, feeling the pull of the artifact. As the factions argued around them, presenting their cases for custody of the precursor technology, the couple found themselves drawn closer to the Nexus Sphere. Suddenly, Zaxos burst back into the chamber, having overpowered his pursuers. With a feral cry, he lunged for the sphere. Lawrence and Bell moved as one, their bodies flowing in perfect synchronization as they channeled energy through the precursor systems. A blast of pure power erupted from their joined hands, sending Zaxos flying across the room. The assembled leaders fell silent, awed by the display of symbiotic connection between the hybrid couple and the ancient technology. Lawrence nodded, his bioluminescent patterns glowing brighter. Together, they reached out, their fingers mere inches from the surface of the sphere. The air crackled with potential as they prepared to interface with one of the most powerful precursor devices ever discovered. As their hands touched the artifact, a surge of energy enveloped them, promising to push their hybrid nature to its very limits. As their fingers made contact with the Nexus Sphere's surface, a blinding surge of energy erupted, engulfing Lawrence and Bell in a cocoon of swirling light. The power lifted them off the ground, suspending them in midair as their bodies began to undergo yet another transformation. Lawrence's skin took on a metallic sheen, shimmering with an otherworldly luster. Bell's crystalline scales grew more pronounced, refracting light in dazzling patterns. Their bioluminescent markings pulsed with intensity, synchronized with the energy flowing through them. The facility responded to their connection, hidden chambers throughout the structure sliding open to reveal caches of advanced precursor technology. Outside, The massive energy beings converged around the planet, forming a protective barrier that glowed with ethereal light. The commotion drew the attention of the gathered leaders. High Arbiter Zorn, Empress Nalara, Admiral Zara, and Empress Xylo rushed back into the chamber, their eyes wide with awe at the spectacle before them. Dr. Lyra's fingers flew across a nearby console, her voice breathless as she reported. Their hybrid DNA is rapidly evolving, integrating more precursor genetic sequences. The changes are happening at an unprecedented rate. Suddenly, a commotion erupted at the chamber's entrance. Supreme Overlord Zaxos, having broken free from his restraints once again, charged into the room with a feral snarl. His eyes locked onto the suspended forms of Lawrence and Bell, a mixture of rage and desperation contorting his features. Captain Thorne and Sergeant Kira moved to intercept him, but Zaxos proved too quick. He dodged their grasp, making a beeline for the Nexus Sphere. As Zaxos' hand reached out to grab the artifact, it pulsed with energy, throwing him backward. The same pulse disrupted the cocoon surrounding Lawrence and Bell, causing them to fall. They landed with impossible grace, their enhanced bodies absorbing the impact as if it were nothing more than a gentle step. Lawrence and Bell stood side by side, their bodies radiating power. With a shared glance, they extended their hands toward Zaxos. An energy field materialized around the Axiom leader, immobilizing him in midair. With a fluid gesture, they guided his suspended form into a containment field generated by the facility's systems. The assembled leaders watched in stunned silence as Lawrence and Bell demonstrated their newfound abilities. High Arbiter Zorn stepped forward, his voice carrying a mix of awe and concern. In light of these developments, the hearing must be postponed. We need to assess the full extent of your connection to the precursor technology. As the chamber cleared, Lawrence and Bell turned their attention back to the Nexus Sphere. The moment they focused on it, a flood of images and information poured into their minds. They saw glimpses of the precursor's vast civilization, their triumphs and their struggles. Most importantly, they began to understand the true purpose of the legacy left behind. Dr. Lyra approached them, her scientific curiosity overriding any sense of caution. "Your physiological changes are remarkable," she said, setting up a series of scanning devices. "If you'll allow me, I'd like to run some tests to analyze your enhanced capabilities." As Dr. Lyra worked, Lawrence and Bell became acutely aware of a new dimension to their connection. Their hybrid bodies resonated on a deeper level, an unspoken intimacy growing between them with each passing moment. Their examination was interrupted by Captain Thorne's urgent voice. "We're detecting increased activity from the Ascendant Dominion fleet. Long-range scans show their ships powering up weapon systems." Lawrence and Bell shared a look of determination. Without a word, they moved in perfect synchronization towards the facility's central control systems. Their hands danced across the holographic interfaces, initiating a comprehensive scan of the Ascendant Dominion fleet. Data streams flowed around them as they probed the alien ships, searching for weaknesses and potential avenues for peaceful resolution. Their enhanced minds processed the information at lightning speed, uncovering a crucial detail. "The Ascendant Dominion ships," Lawrence said, his voice tinged with surprise. "They are powered by an energy source similar to precursor technology, but distinct in its signature." Bell nodded, her crystalline scales shimmering as she manipulated the holographic display. "It's as if they've developed their own version of the technology, parallel to but separate from the precursors." As they delved deeper into the precursor knowledge now at their fingertips, a chilling revelation emerged. Images of an ancient, implacable enemy flashed through their minds, a threat that had once brought the mighty precursor civilization to its knees. "This conflict," Bell whispered, her eyes wide. "It's just the beginning. There's something far worse coming." Lawrence's metallic skin rippled with tension. "We need to warn them. All of them. The factions need to unite if we're to have any hope of facing what's coming." They turned to face the assembled leaders, the weight of their newfound knowledge heavy on their shoulders. As they prepared to share the truth about the looming threat, Lawrence and Bell felt their hybrid bond pulse with newfound strength. Their fingers intertwined, drawing comfort and perseverance from each other's touch. The hope of the universe hung in the balance, and they stood at the center of it all. With the power of the precursors flowing through them and the nexus sphere humming with energy behind them, Lawrence and Bell took a deep breath, ready to change the course of history. Galactic history. As they stepped away from the nexus sphere, its energy still thrumming through their enhanced bodies, Lawrence and Bell exchanged a determined look. The weight of their newfound knowledge pressed upon them, urging them forward. They made their way through the facility's winding corridors, their footsteps echoing in perfect synchronization. As they approached the main conference room, they could hear the muffled voices of the assembled leaders engaged in heated debate. The doors slid open, and a hush fell over the room. All eyes turned to Lawrence and Bell, their enhanced hybrid forms drawing a mix of awe and trepidation from the gathered representatives. High Arbiter Zorn stood at the head of the table, his imposing figure commanding attention. Lawrence, Bell. Zorn's deep voice resonated through the chamber. You have something to share with us? Bell nodded, her crystalline scales shimmering under the room's lights. We've uncovered crucial information about the precursors and a threat that nearly destroyed their civilization. Lawrence stepped forward, his metallic skin gleaming. With a fluid gesture, he activated the holographic display at the center of the conference table. What we're about to show you will change everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. The hologram flickered to life, displaying a series of images that sent shockwaves through the assembled leaders. It showed vast fleets of ships, unlike anything they had ever seen, tearing through space with devastating force. Entire solar systems blinked out of existence in their wake. This force, Bell explained, her voice steady despite the gravity of her words, nearly brought the precursors to their knees. They sacrificed everything to stop it, and now... Before she could finish, alarms blared throughout the facility. The holographic display flickered and changed, showing a real-time feed of the space surrounding the planet. The Ascendant Dominion fleet had broken formation and was advancing rapidly. Captain Thorne burst into the room, his face etched with urgency. The Dominion fleet has gone rogue. They're on an attack vector and charging weapons. Empress Nalara rose from her seat, her face a mask of confusion and anger. She tapped furiously at her communication device. This is impossible. They're not responding to my commands. Lawrence and Bell shared a quick glance before springing into action. Their bodies moved in perfect harmony as they interfaced with the facility's systems. Energy coursed through them, connecting their hybrid forms to the ancient precursor technology. Outside, the Ascendant Dominion ships unleashed a barrage of energy weapons. The atmosphere lit up with the intensity of their attack, but an iridescent shield sprang to life around the planet, absorbing the impact. The facility shuddered under the strain, and alarms blared as systems began to overload. Lawrence and Bell worked in tandem, their hands dancing across holographic interfaces as they redirected power and stabilized critical systems. We need to buy time, Lawrence said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. The Coalition and Zephyrian ships are moving to engage, but they're outnumbered. Bell nodded, her fingers flying across the controls. I'm activating the planet's defense grid. It was hidden deep in the facility's subroutines. The ground beneath them trembled as massive energy cannons emerged from concealed silos across the planet's surface. They returned fire, matching the Dominion's onslaught with equal force. In the conference room, panic had set in. Leaders scrambled for safety as debris rained down from the ceiling. Captain Thorne and his security team worked to maintain order, guiding the dignitaries to secure areas. Amidst the confusion, a blur of movement caught Lawrence's eye. Supreme Overlord Zaxos, having broken free once again, slipped out of the room and disappeared down a corridor. We can't let him escape, Lawrence said to Bell, his eyes narrowing. But we have more pressing concerns right now. Bell agreed, her attention focused on the battle raging above. The Dominion fleet is pushing through. Our defenses won't hold forever. They made a split-second decision, racing out of the conference room and navigating the crumbling facility with inhuman agility. Their destination, the central control room. As they ran, Lawrence and Bell's hybrid bodies adapted to the changing environment. Lawrence's metallic skin hardened, providing extra protection against falling debris. Bell's crystalline scales refracted energy blasts that penetrated the facility, dissipating their harmful effects. They reached the central control room, sealing the doors behind them. Here, surrounded by the heart of the precursor technology, Lawrence and Bell fully integrated with the systems. Their consciousness expanded, encompassing the entire facility and beyond. Through this connection, they activated dormant defense platforms orbiting the planet. Massive energy beams lanced out, carving through the Dominion fleet with surgical precision. But the Ascendant Dominion's numbers were overwhelming. For every ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The defending coalition and Zephyrian forces fought valiantly, but they were being pushed back. In the midst of the battle, Dr. Lyra's voice crackled over the communication system. "Lawrence, Bell, I've made a breakthrough. Your hybrid physiology, it might be compatible with the Dominion's technology. You could potentially interface with their ships directly." The implications of this discovery raced through their minds. If they could board the Dominion flagship and override its systems, they might be able to end this conflict without further bloodshed. As Lawrence and Bell considered this risky plan, a new alert blared through the facility. Long-range sensors had detected a massive energy signature at the edge of the star system. The readings matched the ancient threat they had discovered in the precursor records. They shared a look of steadfast perseverance. The immediate battle was dire, but an even greater threat loomed on the horizon. Their enhanced abilities would be pushed to the limit as they faced challenges that would determine the fate of the galactic realm. With the facility's defenses holding for the moment, Lawrence and Bell began preparations for their daring mission to board the Ascendant Dominion flagship. As they worked, the newly detected energy signature grew stronger, a dark promise of the trials yet to come. Come. With the facility's defenses holding for the moment, Lawrence and Bell began preparations for their daring mission to board the Ascendant Dominion flagship. As they worked, the newly detected energy signature grew stronger, a dark promise of the trials yet to come. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the control room. Dr. Lyra's voice crackled over the intercom, her tone urgent and strained. "Lawrence, Bell, the energy signature is moving. It's heading straight for the planet." Lawrence and Bell shared a look of grim understanding. They had to act fast. "We need to move now," Lawrence said, his metallic skin rippling with tension. "If we don't neutralize the Dominion fleet, we'll be fighting a war on 2 fronts." Bell nodded, her crystalline scales shimmering as she initiated the final preparations. "Agreed. Let's suit up." They made their way to a nearby chamber where 2 sleek exosuits stood waiting. The suits, a marvel of engineering, were designed to enhance their hybrid abilities and provide protection in the vacuum of space. As Lawrence and Bell donned the suits, they felt their newfound powers amplify, energy coursing through their bodies. Captain Thorne entered the room, carrying 2 portable energy weapons. "These are based on precursor tech," he explained, handing them over. "They pack a punch, but use them wisely. We don't know what you'll encounter up there." As Lawrence and Bell secured the weapons, Dr. Lyra burst into the room, her lab coat fluttering behind her. In her hands, she held 2 small devices. "Wait, I developed these implants to boost your ability to interface with alien technology. They should help you override the Dominion systems." With practiced precision, Dr. Lyra integrated the implants into their exosuits. Lawrence and Bell felt a surge of energy as the devices activated, expanding their consciousness even further. "Good luck," Captain Thorne said, his voice tight with concern. "The fate of us all may rest on your success." Lawrence and Bell made their way to the launch bay, where a stealth shuttle awaited them. The vessel, equipped with a precursor-derived cloaking field, hummed to life as they boarded. As the bay doors opened, they caught a glimpse of the chaos unfolding in space above them. The shuttle shot out of the facility, its cloaking field rendering it invisible to both friend and foe. Lawrence piloted the craft with preternatural skill, weaving through the ongoing battle between Coalition forces and the ascendant Dominion fleet. As they neared the Dominion flagship, a massive energy pulse swept through the system. Ships on both sides of the conflict flickered and went dark, their systems temporarily disabled. "The ancient threat," Bell whispered, her eyes wide as she gazed at the long-range scanners. "It's here." In the distance, a colossal form began to take shape. It was a nightmarish fusion of flesh and machine, dwarfing even the largest ships in the combined fleets. Its presence alone caused widespread disruptions in both organic and technological systems. Lawrence gritted his teeth, focusing on their immediate mission. "We can't do anything about that right now. We need to take control of this flagship first." They maneuvered the shuttle close to the Dominion vessel, its enormous hull looming before them. Activating their exosuit's magnetic systems, Lawrence and Bell launched themselves from the shuttle, latching onto the flagship's exterior. Using their enhanced strength, they pried open an external access hatch and slipped inside. The interior of the ship was unlike anything they had ever seen. Organic components pulsed and writhed alongside advanced technology, creating an unsettling, alien environment. Lawrence and Bell moved silently through the twisting corridors, their hybrid senses alert for any sign of danger. They avoided patrols of Dominion crew members, who seemed oblivious to the intruders in their midst. As they delved deeper into the ship, Lawrence and Bell felt their connection to the vessel grow stronger. The implants Dr. Lyra had given them hummed with energy, allowing them to sense the flow of data and power throughout the ship. Finally, they reached the central control node. It was a vast chamber, filled with pulsating organic matter intertwined with holographic displays and control interfaces. Lawrence and Bell approached the main console, their bodies glowing with energy as they prepared to interface with the alien systems. "Ready?" Lawrence asked, his hand hovering over the console. Bell nodded, her expression determined. "Let's end this." They placed their hands on the interface, and suddenly their consciousness expanded, merging with the ship's systems. Information flooded their minds as they began the process of overriding the Dominion's control. Outside, the ancient threat construct unleashed another massive energy pulse. The facility's defensive systems flickered and died, leaving the planet vulnerable. In the confusion, a small craft launched from the surface, carrying the escaped Supreme Overlord Zaxos to parts unknown. Unaware of these developments, Lawrence and Bell pushed deeper into the ship's systems. They initiated the shutdown sequence for the vessel's weapons and propulsion, effectively neutralizing the greatest threat in the ascendant Dominion fleet. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the control node. The organic components of the room began to shift and reform, closing in around them. Lawrence and Bell found themselves trapped as the room sealed itself off, the ship's automated defenses reacting to their intrusion. "It's fighting back!" Bell exclaimed, her hands dancing across the interface as she tried to counter the ship's defenses. Lawrence grunted with effort as he pushed against the encroaching organic matter. "We need to find a way out of here. We can't let this ship fall back into Dominion control." As they struggled, something extraordinary began to happen. Their hybrid physiology, already enhanced by the exosuits and implants, started to react to the ship's organic defenses. Lawrence's metallic skin began to ripple and flow, developing new patterns that mimicked the ship's internal structures. Belle's crystalline scales shifted, taking on properties that allowed her to interface more deeply with the Dominion technology. "Lawrence," Belle gasped, her eyes wide with wonder. "I think we're adapting to the ship. We might be able to control it completely." As Lawrence and Belle grapple with their newfound abilities and the challenge of escaping the sealed control node, the ancient threat loomed ever closer to the planet. The disparate forces of the galaxy, now united against a common enemy, prepared to face their greatest challenge yet. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, with Lawrence and Belle trapped at the heart of the Dominion flagship, holding the key to turning the tide of battle. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, with Lawrence and Belle trapped at the heart of the Dominion flagship, holding the key to turning the tide of the conflict. As they grappled with the ship's defenses, Lawrence noticed a peculiar change in his metallic skin. The surface began to ripple and flow, developing intricate patterns that mimicked the organic technological fusion of the Dominion vessel's interior. "Belle, look," he exclaimed, holding out his arm. "Our bodies are adapting to the ship's structure." Belle's eyes widened as she observed her own transformation. Her crystalline scales shifted, taking on properties that allowed for deeper integration with the Dominion technology. "This could be our way out," she said, her voice filled with a mix of awe and drive. As the room continued to seal itself off, Lawrence and Belle focused on their newfound abilities. They concentrated on blending their hybrid physiology with the ship's organic components. Gradually, their skin developed a texture nearly identical to the surrounding walls. Belle placed her hand against a pulsating section of the wall, feeling the flow of energy beneath her palm. "I think I can sense the ship's internal layout," she whispered. "There's a small opening forming to our left." Lawrence nodded, following her lead. They moved in unison, their bodies now perfectly camouflaged against the ship's interior. As they approached the left wall, a small gap appeared, barely large enough for them to squeeze through. "Now!" Lawrence hissed, and they slipped into the opening just as it began to close behind them. They found themselves in a twisting corridor, its walls undulating with a mix of organic tissue and metallic conduits. Their enhanced senses allowed them to predict the ship's constant reconfiguration, enabling them to navigate the ever-changing labyrinth. "We need to find the main reactor," Belle said, her voice low as they moved through the ship. "If we can overload it, we might be able to create an energy surge powerful enough to disable the ancient threat." Lawrence agreed, his hybrid body pulsing with energy as he interfaced with the ship's systems. "I think I can guide us there, but we'll have to be careful. The ship's internal sensors are still trying to track us." As they made their way through the vessel, they caught glimpses of the battle raging outside through occasional viewports. The ancient threat loomed large, its massive form dwarfing even the largest ships in the combined fleets. Energy weapons flashed against its surface, seemingly ineffective against its advanced defenses. Finally, they reached the entrance to the main reactor chamber. Lawrence placed his hand on the access panel, his hybrid physiology allowing him to bypass the security protocols. As they approached the reactor controls, Lawrence hesitated. "Wait," he said, his enhanced senses picking up an anomaly. "There's something else here." They followed the strange energy signature to a hidden door adjacent to the reactor room. Lawrence interfaced with the locking mechanism, and the door slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Inside, they found a chamber filled with stasis pods. Each pod contained a figure that appeared to be a fusion of Dominion and precursor physiology. "Dominion scientists," Belle breathed, examining the nearest pod. "But they've been modified just like us." Lawrence activated the revival sequence for the pods. "These scientists might hold the key to defeating the ancient threat. We can't destroy the ship with them on board." As the stasis pods began the awakening process, Lawrence and Belle turned their attention back to the ship systems. Using their enhanced abilities, they began to take full control of the Dominion flagship. I'm reactivating the weapon systems, Bell said, her hands dancing over the holographic interface. We can turn this ship's firepower against the construct. Lawrence nodded, focusing on the propulsion systems. I've got engines back online. We can maneuver into a better firing position. As the Dominion scientists started to regain consciousness, the flagship's massive weapons arrays came to life. Energy beams lanced out, striking the ancient threat construct with pinpoint accuracy. The lead scientist, a female Dominion with distinctive precursor markings, approached Lawrence and Bell. "I am Dr. Zar-El," she said, her voice carrying a hint of an alien accent. "You've awakened us just in time. We may be the galaxy's last hope against the Ancient One." Lawrence and Bell exchanged glances, realizing that their mission had just become far more complex than they had initially anticipated. As the battle raged outside and the ancient construct launched its counterattack, they knew that the next few moments would determine the fate of not just this conflict, but potentially the entire galaxy. The ancient construct launched another devastating energy pulse, rocking the Dominion flagship and nearly knocking Lawrence and Bell off their feet. Dr. Zar-El steadied herself against a nearby console. "We need to act quickly. That construct is the culmination of eons of technological evolution. Our only hope is to infiltrate and disable it from within." Lawrence nodded, his metallic skin rippling with nervous energy. "We have the means to do it. Our hybrid physiology should allow us to interface with its systems." "Then let's move," Bell said, her crystalline scales glinting in the pulsing light of the reactor room. "We can use this ship to get us close enough to board the construct." The trio rushed back to the bridge, with Dr. Zar-El's team following close behind. Lawrence and Bell took their positions at the helm, their enhanced abilities allowing them to control the massive vessel with unprecedented precision. As they approached the ancient construct, its true scale became apparent. The biomechanical monstrosity dwarfed even the largest ships in the Allied fleet, its surface a nightmarish fusion of organic tissue and advanced technology. Bell's hands danced across the control interface. "I'm detecting a weak point in its outer defenses. If we time it right, we can slip through." Lawrence maneuvered the flagship into position, narrowly avoiding the construct's energy beams. With a burst of acceleration, they breached the outer layer, finding themselves inside a cavernous docking bay. As they disembarked, Lawrence and Bell's hybrid bodies began to resonate with the surrounding technology. The walls pulsed with an eerie bioluminescence, responding to their presence. Dr. Zar-El examined a nearby console, her eyes widening. "Fascinating. The construct systems are far more advanced than anything we've encountered before. It's as if it's constantly evolving." They made their way deeper into the construct, navigating through twisting corridors that seemed to shift and reconfigure themselves. Lawrence and Bell's enhanced senses guided them, allowing them to anticipate changes in the environment. Suddenly, a swarm of repair drones descended upon them. The machines, a hybrid of organic components and advanced robotics, moved with frightening speed and coordination. Bell's crystalline scales hardened, forming a protective barrier as she engaged the drones. Lawrence's metallic skin flowed like liquid mercury, allowing him to dodge and weave through the attackers. Dr. Zar-El and her team provided support, using their knowledge of precursor and Dominion technology to disrupt the drone systems. Working together, they managed to neutralize the threat and push forward. As they progressed, they encountered increasingly complex defense mechanisms. Energy barriers sprang up, cutting off their path. Lawrence and Bell combined their abilities, using their hybrid physiology to manipulate the construct's organic components and create openings. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, Dr. Lyra and Empress Nalara worked furiously to restore power to the facility's defensive systems. The air crackled with tension as they rerouted energy and bypassed damaged circuits. "We're almost there," Dr. Lyra said, her fingers flying across a holographic interface. Just a few more seconds. With a low hum, the facility's systems came back online. Empress Nalara wasted no time, activating the modified energy pulse generator. A concentrated burst of energy shot towards the ancient construct, temporarily disrupting its outer defenses. Inside the construct, Lawrence and Bell felt the impact of the pulse. The walls around them shuddered, and for a brief moment, the oppressive presence of the ancient threat seemed to weaken. "This is our chance," Lawrence said, his voice urgent. "We need to find the central neural node before it recovers." They pushed deeper into the construct, their hybrid abilities allowing them to interface with its organic components. As they navigated the maze-like interior, they came across a chamber that gave them pause. The room was filled with stasis pods, similar to those they had found on the Dominion flagship. Inside each pod was a different alien species, some matching precursor genetic markers. Bell's eyes widened as she examined the nearest pod. "It's collecting them, preserving them for some unknown purpose." Dr. Zarl nodded grimly. "We'll need to investigate this further. But right now, we must focus on our primary objective." They marked the location of the chamber in their mapping systems and pressed on. As they approached the central neural node, the construct's defenses intensified. Energy fields crackled around them, and the very walls seemed to come alive, reaching out with tendrils of biomechanical matter. Suddenly, they found themselves face to face with an unexpected obstacle. Supreme Overlord Zaxo stood before them, his body now a grotesque fusion of Dominion physiology and the construct's technology. "You fools!" Zaxo snarled, his voice distorted by the mechanical components fused to his throat. "You cannot stop the inevitable. The Ancient One will cleanse this galaxy of its impurities." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a glance, their bodies tensing for combat. Without a word, they moved in perfect synchronization, their hybrid abilities allowing them to match Zaxos' enhanced capabilities. As the battle raged, Dr. Zarl and her team worked frantically to bypass the chamber security systems. The air filled with the sounds of combat and the hum of alien technology. Lawrence's metallic skin flowed and reformed, allowing him to absorb and redirect Zaxos' energy attacks. Bell's crystalline structure refracted energy beams, creating dazzling displays of light that disoriented their opponent. Their movements became increasingly fluid and coordinated, as if they were two parts of a single organism. Lawrence anticipated Bell's actions before she made them, and she instinctively covered his blind spots. Outside, the Allied fleet pressed its advantage. Admiral Zara's voice crackled over the comm systems, coordinating a series of precision strikes against the construct's weakened sections. The Dominion flagship, still under Lawrence and Bell's control, provided crucial fire support. As the battle reached its climax, Lawrence and Bell's synchronized movements became even more pronounced. Their bodies moved in perfect harmony, their hybrid instincts guiding them as one. With a final, coordinated assault, they overwhelmed Zaxos. The Supreme Overlord fell back, his augmented body sparking and twitching. But even in defeat, he had one last act of defiance. Zaxos' hand slammed down on a nearby console, triggering a fail-safe mechanism. Alarms blared throughout the chamber as a self-destruct sequence initiated in the surrounding systems. "We're running out of time," Dr. Zarl shouted over the din. "I've breached the node's defenses. You need to interface with it now." Lawrence and Bell rushed to the central neural node, their hybrid physiology resonating with the ancient technology. As they made contact, they felt an overwhelming surge of information and energy flow through them. Their consciousness expanded, intertwining with the construct systems. They began the process of shutting down the neural node, causing cascading failures throughout the massive entity. As the ancient threat systems failed, it released a massive burst of energy. The wave engulfed Lawrence and Bell, intensifying their connection to each other and the surrounding technology. Their bodies underwent another transformation, further integrating aspects of precursor and dominion physiology. The construct began to break apart around them, its structural integrity compromised by the Allied attack and the shutdown of its neural node. Lawrence and Bell, their bodies still glowing with residual energy, led the team back through the collapsing corridors. They raced against time, navigating through falling debris and fluctuating gravity fields. With seconds to spare, they reached their shuttle and launched, narrowly escaping as the ancient threat disintegrated behind them. As they flew back to the planet, Lawrence and Bell became aware of new sensations. They could manipulate energy fields at a distance and communicate telepathically with each other. Their bond had deepened on both a physical and mental level. They exchanged a look of wonder and trepidation, realizing that their journey was just the beginning. As the shuttle approached the planet's surface, they knew that new challenges awaited them, challenges that would test the limits of their evolving abilities and the strength of their connection. Bond. As the shuttle touched down on the planet's surface, Lawrence and Bell exchanged a silent glance, their newfound telepathic connection humming with shared anticipation and uncertainty. The facility's main entrance had sustained heavy damage during the battle, but Lawrence and Bell found they could easily navigate through the debris. Their hybrid bodies flowed and adapted, allowing them to squeeze through narrow gaps and leap over collapsed sections with fluid grace. As they entered the main control room, they saw Dr. Lyra and Empress Nalara hunched over a sparking console, their faces illuminated by the flickering holographic displays. The two women looked up as Lawrence and Bell approached, their eyes widening at the sight of the transformed couple. "By the stars," Dr. Lyra breathed, reaching for a nearby scanner. "Your physiological changes are remarkable." Empress Nalara stepped forward, her regal bearing at odds with the chaos around them. "We felt the energy surge when the construct collapsed. Are you both all right?" Before Lawrence could respond, Bell's crystalline scales shimmered, and she projected a holographic representation of their experience inside the ancient threat. The room fell silent as the others watched the battle unfold in vivid detail. As the hologram faded, Admiral Zara strode into the control room, her uniform singed and torn but her bearing as commanding as ever. "The debris field is secure," she reported, her gaze lingering on Lawrence and Bell's altered forms. "We've begun collecting samples of the biomechanical technology. But that's not all. We've detected numerous escape pods scattered across the system." The implications of this news hung heavy in the air. Before anyone could fully process it, a shimmering portal opened in the center of the room. High Arbiter Zorn stepped through, his multifaceted eyes taking in the scene before him. "An emergency session of the Galactic Conclave has been called," he announced, his voice resonating with authority. "Lawrence, Bell, your presence is requested. Your unique perspective will be invaluable in determining our next steps." As if on cue, Dr. Zarel and her team of Dominion scientists entered the room, pushing hovering stasis pods containing the alien specimens rescued from the construct. The pods pulsed with a soft, eerie light, hinting at the secrets contained within. "We need to set up a secure containment area," Dr. Zarel said, her eyes darting between the pods and the hybrid couple. "Lawrence, Bell, can you assist? Your connection to the facility's systems could be crucial." Without a word, Lawrence and Bell moved to the nearest console. Their hands hovered over the controls, and suddenly, the facility's layout appeared before them in holographic form. They manipulated the display with thought alone, designating secure areas and rerouting power to establish containment fields. As they worked, Lawrence felt a familiar presence at his side. Captain Thorne had entered the room, his security team fanning out to secure the perimeter. "We're getting reports of increased activity in the system," Thorne said in a low voice. "Unknown alien signatures. They seem to have been drawn by the energy released during the battle." Bell's crystalline form shimmered as she processed this information. "We need to be prepared for anything," she said, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. As the containment units were established, Dr. Lyra approached with her medical scanner. I need to run a full diagnostic on both of you, she said, her professional demeanor barely masking her excitement. The changes to your physiology are unlike anything I've ever seen. As the scanner hummed over their bodies, Lawrence and Bell became aware of a new presence in the room. Empress Zyla of the Zephyrian Empire had arrived, her ethereal form seeming to float rather than walk. "Lawrence Bell," she said, her voice like wind through crystal chimes. "I must speak with you privately. There are matters of great importance we need to discuss." Before they could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a hidden chamber deep within the structure. Ancient precursor technology pulsed with renewed energy, as if awakened by the recent events. "That chamber," Dr. Zarel gasped. "It contains genetic manipulation technology far beyond our current understanding." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a look, their hybrid senses tingling with the potential of this discovery. As they prepared to investigate, they could feel the weight of countless eyes upon them. Human, Dominion, Zephyrian, and more. The fate of not just their own species, but of the entire galaxy, seemed to rest on their altered shoulders. With a shared nod, they stepped towards the chamber entrance, their bodies resonating with the ancient technology that lay within. Whatever secrets awaited them, whatever challenges the galactic conclave might bring, they would face them together, as something more than human, more than alien, something entirely new in the vast expanse of the cosmos. Universe. As Lawrence and Bell approached the chamber entrance, the facility's alarms suddenly ceased, replaced by an eerie silence. The ancient precursor technology pulsed with renewed energy, casting an otherworldly glow throughout the corridor. Before they could take another step, Dr. Zarel's voice crackled urgently through their communication devices. "Lawrence Bell, we have a situation in the temporary laboratory. One of the alien specimens is showing signs of activity. We need your assistance immediately." Without hesitation, the hybrid couple turned and sprinted towards the lab, their enhanced bodies allowing them to cover the distance in mere seconds. As they entered, they found Dr. Zarel and her team frantically working to maintain control over a violently shaking stasis pod. "The containment field is destabilizing," Dr. Zarel shouted over the pod's high-pitched whine. "We can't maintain it much longer." Lawrence and Bell exchanged a quick glance, their newfound telepathic bond allowing for instant communication. They approached the pod from opposite sides, their hands hovering over its surface. As their hybrid physiology resonated with the ancient technology, they felt a surge of energy flow through them. The pod's erratic energy signature began to stabilize under their influence. As Lawrence and Bell focused their efforts, they felt an unexpected presence brush against their minds. A consciousness, alien yet somehow familiar, reached out to them. "We're establishing a mental link with the specimen," Bell communicated silently to Lawrence. He nodded, his metallic skin shimmering with effort as they delved deeper into the connection. A flood of images and sensations washed over them. Countless stars, the birth of galaxies, the rise and fall of civilizations, all compressed into a single moment of understanding. Through this torrent of information, a single voice emerged. "I am Zarathul," the alien consciousness proclaimed. "Last of the progenitors, creators of the precursors, shapers of galaxies." As the mental link strengthened, Lawrence and Bell found themselves immersed in Zarathul's memories. They witnessed the grand experiment that led to the creation of humans, Zephyrians, and the ancestors of the Dominion. They saw the construction of the ancient threat, not a weapon, but a preservation system designed to safeguard the diverse species of the galaxy. The revelation left them reeling. Dr. Zarel's voice cut through their shared trance. "The pod's readings have stabilized, but the specimen's vital signs are strengthening. We need to make a decision. Do we attempt to revive it?" Lawrence and Bell slowly lowered their hands from the pod's surface, the glow of energy fading from their bodies. They turned to face the assembled group of leaders and scientists, all waiting expectantly for their input. "We need to revive her," Lawrence said, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "This is Zartho, a progenitor. She holds knowledge crucial to understanding our place in the galaxy." Bell nodded in agreement. "Our departure to the Galactic Conclave will have to wait. This takes precedence." High Arbiter Zorn stepped forward, his multifaceted eyes gleaming with interest. "I'll inform the Conclave of our delay. This development changes everything." As Dr. Zar-El and her team began the delicate process of reviving Zaratho, Lawrence and Bell found their hybrid physiology continuing to adapt. The prolonged mental link with the progenitor had accelerated their evolution, allowing them to maintain the connection even as the stasis pod powered down. Hours passed as the revival process unfolded. Lawrence and Bell remained by the pod's side, their bodies pulsing with energy as they acted as a bridge between Zartho and the technology around them. The assembled leaders watched in awe as the couple's forms shifted and changed, becoming even more fluid and adaptable. Finally, with a hiss of escaping gases, the stasis pod opened. Zaratho emerged, her form unlike anything they had ever seen, a being of pure energy contained within a vaguely humanoid shape. Her eyes, if they could be called that, focused on Lawrence and Bell. "You have evolved far beyond our expectations," Zaratho's voice echoed in their minds. "The experiment has yielded results we never anticipated." High Arbiter Zorn stepped forward, his voice filled with awe-inspiring excitement. "Honored progenitor, we have many questions. Would you be willing to address our assembled leaders?" Zaratho turned her attention to the High Arbiter, her form shimmering with acknowledgement. "I will share what I can. Summon your leaders. The time for revelations has come." As the emergency meeting was called, Lawrence and Bell found themselves at the center of a political storm. Representatives from the Coalition, Zephyrian Empire, and Ascendant Dominion filed into the facility's main conference room, their faces a mix of anticipation and wariness. Zaratho's presence seemed to awaken the dormant precursor technology throughout the facility. New chambers revealed themselves, and long silent systems hummed to life. Lawrence and Bell, acting on instinct, interfaced with these newly awakened systems. Their hybrid nature allowed them to access and interpret the vast network of progenitor outposts scattered across the galaxy. As Zaratho began to speak, sharing the history of the progenitors and their grand experiment in guided evolution, Lawrence and Bell found themselves thrust into the role of mediators. Their unique connection to both human and alien technology made them the only ones capable of safely accessing and interpreting the progenitor network. The revelation of this vast network of outposts, each containing advanced technology and preserved specimens, sent shockwaves through the assembled leaders. Arguments broke out as various factions staked their claims to this newfound wealth of knowledge and power. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Lyra approached Lawrence and Bell, her eyes wide with excitement. "I've completed my latest scans," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Before they could fully process this information, Captain Thorne burst into the room. "We've got incoming," he reported, his face grim. "Multiple ships from unaligned factions are entering the system. They're after the progenitor technology." The facility's defenses went on high alert as the threat of potential raids loomed. Empress Zyla, ever the strategist, saw an opportunity amidst the crisis. She proposed a joint expedition to the nearest progenitor outpost, offering the use of her most advanced ship. As debates raged and plans were formulated, Lawrence and Bell found a moment of relative calm. They retreated to their quarters, their bodies humming with newfound energy. As they embraced, their physical forms resonated in perfect harmony, their hybrid nature more pronounced than ever. Suddenly, they both felt a subtle shift in the facility's energy signature. Their enhanced senses detected something new, something hidden beneath layers of ancient technology. Without a word, they knew what they had to do. Hand in hand, Lawrence and Bell set out to explore the facility one last time before their impending departure. As they ventured into the newly revealed chambers, they could feel their bodies continuing to adapt and evolve. Whatever secrets lay hidden in the depths of the facility, whatever challenges awaited them at the progenitor outpost, they would face them together, as something entirely new in the vast expanse of the universe. As Lawrence and Bell ventured deeper into the newly revealed chambers, their hybrid bodies resonated with the ancient technology surrounding them. The facility's energy signature shifted subtly, guiding them towards hidden secrets buried beneath layers of precursor engineering. Their exploration was cut short by an urgent communication from Captain Thorne. "Lawrence, Bell, we need you in the command center immediately. We've detected multiple unaligned ships entering the system." Without hesitation, they rushed to the command center, their enhanced physiology allowing them to cover the distance in mere seconds. As they entered, they found the room buzzing with activity. Holographic displays showed a fleet of unknown vessels approaching the planet. "They're after the progenitor technology," Captain Thorne explained, his face grim. "We need to mobilize our defenses." Empress Zyla stepped forward, her ethereal form shimmering with grit. "I propose a joint expedition to the nearest progenitor outpost. My most advanced ship is at your disposal." As debates raged and plans were formulated, Lawrence and Bell found themselves at the center of a political storm. Representatives from the Coalition, Zephyrian Empire, and Ascendant Dominion argued over the best course of action. Amidst the chaos, Dr. Lyra approached the hybrid couple. "I've completed my latest scans," she said, her voice barely containing her excitement. "Your physiology has reached a new stage of evolution. You're now capable of adapting to virtually any environment, even the vacuum of space." Before they could fully process this information, alarms blared throughout the facility. The holographic displays flickered, showing a massive energy surge emanating from the debris field left by the destroyed ancient construct. "The surge is triggering a chain reaction," Dr. Zarro reported, her fingers flying over the control panels. "It's reactivating dormant biomechanical components scattered throughout the system." Captain Thorne's voice cut through the commotion. Multiple sightings of self-assembling constructs forming from the debris. They're coalescing into smaller versions of the original ancient threat. Lawrence and Bell exchanged a glance, their telepathic bond allowing for instant communication. They knew what needed to be done. "We need to split up," Lawrence said, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "Bell, you go with the expedition team. Your abilities will be crucial for interfacing with the progenitor outpost." Bell nodded, her crystalline form shimmering with purpose. "And you?" "I'll stay here and help defend against this new threat," Lawrence replied, his metallic skin pulsing with energy. As the expedition team boarded Empress Zyla's ship, Bell's enhanced senses detected a faint energy trail leading away from the system. She quickly relayed this information to the team, suspecting it might be connected to Supreme Overlord Zaxos' escape. The ship's engines roared to life, propelling them towards the coordinates of the progenitor outpost. As they left the planet's atmosphere, Bell watched the chaos unfolding below. The reactivated constructs swarmed around the planet, engaged in fierce combat with the Coalition Defense Forces. Back on the surface, Lawrence joined Dr. Lyra at the facility's newly discovered weapon systems. His hybrid abilities allowed him to interface directly with the ancient technology, dramatically improving its accuracy and effectiveness. "Target the largest concentrations of constructs," Lawrence instructed, his body humming with energy as he merged with the weapon systems. Beams of blindingly bright energy lanced out from the facility, vaporizing clusters of the assembling threats. In space, Admiral Zara's fleet engaged the reactivated constructs. Coalition and Zephyrian ships formed a defensive perimeter around the planet, while Dominion vessels provided long-range fire support. Lawrence's voice crackled over the comms, coordinating the ground-based defenses with the fleet's movements. As the battle intensified, Lawrence felt his body continuing to adapt and evolve. His strength and resilience increased dramatically, allowing him to push the weapon systems beyond their normal limits. He channeled more and more energy through his hybrid form, each blast from the facility's defenses growing more powerful. Meanwhile, Bell and the expedition team encountered a series of gravitational anomalies as they approached the progenitor outpost. The ship's navigational system struggled to compensate, forcing Bell to interface directly with the vessel's controls. Her crystalline form merged with the ship's systems, her consciousness expanding to encompass every aspect of the vessel. With precise adjustments, she guided them through the disturbances, her actions stabilizing their course. As they pushed through the last of the anomalies, a massive asteroid field came into view. Bell's enhanced perception revealed a complex network of cloaked energy fields protecting the outpost hidden within. "I can see the safe path," Bell announced, her voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "Follow my instructions exactly." She guided the ship through a series of precise maneuvers, threading their way through the asteroid field and bypassing the hidden security measures. As they approached the outpost itself, Bell felt a familiar resonance, the unmistakable signature of progenitor technology. The ship docked with the ancient structure, and Bell led a small team, including Dr. Zarel and representatives from each faction, into the outpost. As they moved deeper into the facility, they encountered various automated defense systems, which Bell deactivated with growing ease. They soon found themselves in a vast chamber filled with archives of genetic data and advanced technology. The faction representatives gasped in awe, their eyes wide as they took in the wealth of knowledge surrounding them. As the team began to explore the archives, Bell felt drawn to a hidden chamber nearby. Following her instincts, she discovered a device similar to the evolution accelerator found in the precursor facility. Without hesitation, she reached out and interfaced with it. Energy coursed through her body, triggering another transformation in her hybrid physiology. Bell felt her form shifting, incorporating more advanced progenitor traits. Her connection to the surrounding technology deepened, allowing her to access and interpret vast amounts of data with ease. Suddenly, an urgent communication from Lawrence broke through her reverie. His voice, strained with effort, filled her mind. "Bell, we need your help. The constructs are overwhelming our defenses. We need to fully activate the precursor facility systems." Bell's newly enhanced abilities told her that she might be the key to unlocking the facility's true potential. She turned to the expedition team, her form shimmering with newfound power. "We need to return immediately," she announced, her voice carrying an unmistakable note of command. "The fate of the planet, and possibly the entire system, hangs in the balance." As the team rushed back to the ship, Bell's enhanced senses detected another energy signature, similar to the one they had followed earlier. She hesitated for a moment, torn between the urgent need to assist Lawrence and the potential opportunity to track down Supreme Overlord Zaxos. With a final glance at the energy trail, Bell made her decision. She boarded the ship, her mind already reaching out to interface with its systems. As they disengaged from the progenitor outpost, Bell prepared herself for the challenges that lay ahead. The ship accelerated towards the embattled planet, leaving the asteroid field behind. Bell knew that the information they had gathered would have far-reaching consequences for the future of galactic civilization. But for now, her focus remained on the immediate threat. As they re-entered the system, the full scale of the battle became apparent. The space around the planet was filled with swarming constructs, engaged in fierce combat with the Allied fleet. On the surface, flashes of energy marked the continued resistance led by Lawrence and the Coalition forces. Bell steeled herself for what was to come, her hybrid body thrumming with newfound power. Whatever challenges awaited them, she was ready to face them head-on. As Bell guided Empress Zyla's ship back towards the embattled planet, her mind raced with possibilities. The newly acquired progenitor knowledge surged through her evolving consciousness, presenting an unprecedented opportunity. In a flash of inspiration, Belle reached out across the vast distance of space, her hybrid abilities stretching beyond their known limits. Lawrence, still locked in fierce combat on the planet's surface, felt a sudden surge of energy course through his body. His mind expanded, connecting with Belle's in a way that transcended their previous bond. Through this quantum entanglement link, Lawrence and Belle found themselves sharing not just thoughts, but their very essence. Belle. Lawrence's voice resonated in her mind, clear despite the chaos of battle surrounding him. I can feel your power, your knowledge. It's extraordinary. We're truly one now, Lawrence, Belle responded, her consciousness intertwining with his. Let's use this connection to end this threat once and for all. As Empress Xyla's ship entered the planet's orbit, Belle witnessed the full scale of the battle below. Lawrence stood at the center of a maelstrom of energy and metal, directing a small army of reprogrammed constructs against their larger counterparts. His movements were fluid and precise, each action amplified by the shared power flowing between him and Belle. Belle interfaced with the ship's systems, her crystalline form pulsing with energy as she extended her consciousness to encompass both the vessel and the planet's defenses. She guided the ship to a strategic position above the precursor facility, creating a direct link between the 3 points of power: the ship, the facility, and their hybrid forms. Lawrence, I'm in position, Belle communicated through their link. Are you ready to activate the facility's full potential? Lawrence's response came not in words, but in a surge of energy and intent. Together, they initiated a cascading sequence of commands, their shared consciousness navigating the complex precursor systems with unprecedented ease. The ground beneath the facility trembled, ancient machinery groaning to life. Massive plates of Earth shifted, revealing a colossal energy cannon that had lain dormant for millennia. Belle channeled power from Empress Xyla's ship into the facility, while Lawrence directed the energy through the newly exposed weapon. The air crackled with anticipation as the cannon charged, drawing power from the planet's core. Lawrence and Belle's hybrid forms resonated in perfect harmony, their shared abilities allowing them to control the immense energies at play. With a blinding flash, the cannon fired. A beam of pure energy, more powerful than anything witnessed in the known galaxy, lanced through space. It cut through the swarming constructs like a scythe through wheat, disintegrating them instantly. The shockwave rippled outward, destabilizing the debris field and preventing any further reactivation of the ancient threat. As the light faded and the immediate danger subsided, Lawrence and Belle turned their attention to the wealth of progenitor data they had acquired. Their hybrid minds processed the information at an astounding rate, gaining insights into their own evolution and the true purpose behind the progenitor experiment. Lawrence, this is incredible. Belle's thoughts flowed through their shared consciousness. The progenitors were trying to create a new form of life, one that could bridge the gap between organic and synthetic existence. And we're the result, Lawrence realized, his form shimmering with newfound understanding. But there's so much more to learn, so much potential we've barely tapped into. Their revelations were cut short by a sudden blaring of alarms. A new presence entered the system, one that radiated power and malevolence in equal measure. Supreme Overlord Zaxos had returned, his form now a twisted amalgamation of Dominion and progenitor technology. Zaxos' voice boomed across all communication channels, his words dripping with arrogance and threat. Lawrence, Belle, your little science experiment ends now. Surrender yourselves and the precursor facility to me, or I'll reduce this planet to atoms. Lawrence and Belle shared a moment of silent communication, their linked minds formulating a plan in an instant. They knew they couldn't allow Zaxos to acquire their power or the precursor technology. The future of the stars hung in the balance. We need to confront him directly. Lawrence's thoughts flowed to Belle. Together, we might stand a chance. Belle's agreement came not in words, but in a surge of perseverance that flowed through their bond. Their bodies, now pulsing with the combined power of precursor, dominion, and progenitor technology, began to change once more. As they launched themselves into space, their hybrid physiology adapted to the vacuum instantly. They flew towards Zaxos' fleet, their forms leaving trails of energy in their wake. The assembled forces of the coalition, Zephyrian Empire and Ascendant Dominion, watched in awe as the two beings that had once been human soared past their ships, ready to face a threat beyond their comprehension. Lawrence and Bell approached Zaxos' fleet, their shared consciousness formulating a plan that would push their new abilities to the limit. As they drew closer, they began to manipulate the very fabric of space-time around them, preparing for a confrontation that would determine the fate of humanity and all alien species.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.